Emo conjectured that it might be a northern sand base. Han Zixin continued, "A few months ago, a fast jet ski appeared near the Beaufort Sea with a man nearing death on it. The jet ski went past a cruiser, and the man was saved. The first thing he asked for when he could move again was a computer. With it, he sent out a massive amount of images and intel all about research data of some labs under the Icehelm Island. A group of scientists was researching all sorts of crazy weapons there. The intel that Ma'am sent out was only a small part of it, yet it had huge worth. Shockingly enough, one of the images was of a flying saucer in the making. That wasn't a flying saucer though, it was the space flower." Emo understood that someone else must have escaped from Northern Sand, and that person must have wanted to relay this information to the world in order to stop Northern Sand. Han Zixin said solemnly, "I think you already know, but that was a Northern Sand base, and that man was someone who ran away from Northern Sand. Although I don't know how he got out, but Northern Sand is indeed building weapons that can threaten the whole world in that base." Now, before the man could finish sending the images, the cruiser was rammed and sank into the ocean. Rammed? Not attacked by a weapon? Emo asked in wonder. Han Zixin shook his head. "Indeed. It's as though it rammed into a reef and the cruiser just sunk. A small part of the people on board survived, but the man who escaped also sank with the cruiser, and the data in his hands was lost. But because of all that data being sent out, many countries sent men wanting to get their hands on the space flower or on the other weapons, right?" Emo sneered. Han Zixin smiled bitterly. "After that happened, Russia, the US, and Canada sent out ships immediately. The Icehelm Island base did blow up most of its facilities and managed to transfer some important things, but they were too short on time. Russia's and the US's ships started to attack the island pretty soon. Meanwhile, the island seemed to be meant only for doing research and had no military power. Hence, it didn't take long to kill off all resistance. But then Russia and the US didn't find anything, except for the remnants of the space flower. Since they didn't find anything, why were people still sent over?" Emo asked in wonder. Han Zixin sighed. "Because Northern Sand didn't have enough time to evacuate completely, and no one believed that Northern Sand would have destroyed all that valuable research unless it was really their last moment. They believed the person keeping the data must have hidden somewhere. More and more countries wanted to join the party, and they eventually came to the common ground that each country would form a special squad to send onto the island. The deal was that as long as there were no radiation or human race-endangering weapons, then each country got whatever their squad found." "Did none of the special forces make it out alive?" Emo asked strangely. Han Zixin nodded. "Indeed, not a single country's squad came back. More people were sent in later, but those also disappeared. With more and more people disappearing, many countries have started to quit. If it wasn't that so many people might somehow still be alive on the island, perhaps the island would have been blown to nothing already." Emo immediately felt that something was wrong. First of all, how could an organization like Northern Sand let someone escape again after Yixing's escape? And this escapee even brought out large amounts of intel. Secondly, although Icehelm Island was pretty big, it was still only an ice island. There were no forests, how could people disappear so easily? Thirdly, the union that had formed would at most propose to form an international squad to go in and search such an important place. How could they agree to let all those different countries go in and play finders keepers? This wasn't a child's game. The main thing was that no one had gone missing before those elite squads went in. Only afterwards did strange things start to happen. "Who brought up the idea of sending in elite forces?" Emo asked. Hearing this, Han Zixin looked at Emo in shock and said, "When the elite forces started to go missing, others also started getting suspicious, but then the senator who had brought up the suggestion suddenly died." Emo fell into contemplation. The squads the countries sent out would undoubtedly be the elite of the elite. If this really had been a trap, why would Northern Sand want these elites? They weren't scientists. Han Zixin suddenly said, "Although Northern Sand has abducted scientists before, they never tried to abduct any of our special forces elites. Perhaps this has nothing to do with Northern Sand? Maybe something happened with the island." Emo had thought as far as well and shook his head. "You're right. They wouldn't do that because it would be pointless. Even if they could use them to train stronger people, even if they could assassinate Preside-Emo stopped there. What if they wanted to assassinate Yixing? Yixing's use to Luo Yu was no less than Yemo's. Without Yixing, Luo Yu might have lost last time. But then, Emo thought that perhaps he was thinking too much. No one should know that Yixing was in Luo Yu. But what if Northern Sand did know? Emo knew that his theory was a bit absurd. But what if Northern Sand was really doing all that to kill Yixing? At the last Luo Yu battle, Luo Yu dominated the scene when no one could match Luo Yu's electronic interference machine, which had been designed by Yixing. Would Northern Sand suspect that Yixing had run over to Luo Yu from that? Even if they wanted to assassinate Yixing, it wouldn't be easy. Random people wouldn't even be able to get near the core region of Luo Yu. Unless Luo Yu suddenly fell apart. But unless there was another war, how could Luo Yu fall apart? War? Emo thought of the recent attacks on his businesses. If Northern Sand was behind that, then there really might be war coming soon. If Luo Yu fought with a bunch of other countries, then no matter how strong it was, there was a limit to how many countries it could take on at the same time. As Emo thought about all that, he suddenly felt cold sweat run down his back. If that had been planned out step by Emo's enemy, then that enemy was too calculative. People like that did exist, for example Dongfang Shi, but it was destined that there would never be a lot of people like that at the same time. All that just to attack Yixing? Emo shook his head. He knew he was thinking too much after all. There couldn't be a plan betting on so many coincidences. Even if they wanted Yixing, they wouldn't do all this. But no matter what, Emo still had to call Su Yuehua, Su Ping and Yixing. Just as Emo was prepared to call Su Yuehua, his phone sounded first. Su Yuehua was calling. Emo said, "Sister Yuehua, I was just about to call you. You go first." President, the Indonesian government doesn't seem to want to comply. Instead, they are ordering warships from a few Western countries, Su Yuehua said. If he hadn't heard Han Zixin's words, Emo would have started a war without hesitation. Indonesia wasn't that strong, but now Emo had to be careful. Even if he was to start war, he had to make sure to protect Yixing and the others. "How are you dealing with this?" Emo asked after thinking for a moment. Su Yuehua immediately replied, "The rest of the countries that had discord with our business have negotiated conditions, and we reached a common ground. Only Indonesia and Philippines won't budge. They don't want to resolve the conflict at all. We've put on hold all cooperation projects, so they are currently asking for compensation." "Okay." Emo nodded. Luo Yu wasn't afraid of Indonesia or the Philippines. "You did well, Luo Yu will now active the war protocol. Tell Yixing about this as well. I will be more specific when I come back. And one more thing, increase Luo Yu's security. Make sure not a single person comes in and out without notifying us. Especially Yixing. Tell him to stay safe. I suspect some people break into Luo Yu. Tell second brother this too," Emo said. Su Yuehua said, "After what happened with our outlets, Luo Yu has already increased security. Don't worry, I know." Emo was very satisfied with how Su Yuehua was handling things. Just when he was going to hang up, Su Yuehua started speaking again. "And there's one more thing I need to tell you. Liang Jun and Lu Na recently have been acting a bit dodgy. They want to go visit their homes, so I said we'll decide once you come back." Emo's heart sunk. He had a bad feeling. Liang Jun and Lu Na were two of Luo Yu's scientists. They were a couple. They had even brought Luo Yu's new nuclear fission element. Most importantly, they had ran away from the Asian Northern Sand base. They wouldn't want to be caught again, so why were they choosing to leave Luo Yu at a time like this? No matter what, he had to go back and ask them. Emo immediately said, "They can't leave Luo Yu now. You must wait until I get back. I suspect this is someone's trap. They might have been tricked." "Okay, I know." Su Yuehua hung up and immediately sent orders. Han Zixin heard Emo's words and said, "I know you're very busy right now, but if you need any help with Luo Yu, I can ask the president. Still, Luo Yu doesn't need our help for technology. Theoretically, China is always with Luo Yu. If it wasn't due to all sorts of reasons, we could even help you in the war with Indonesia." Emo heard this and was grateful. He knew that what Han Zixin offered couldn't be done. But he did seem genuine. He was saying that he wanted to help from the bottom of his heart, but he couldn't really send out troops due to his responsibilities. EMO, let's go back first since there's trouble. Luo Ying was a bit worried. She knew that Luo Yu was Yi Mo's base. All his friends and family were there. If something happened to it, it would be a big blow to him. EMO nodded. He had to deal with these things first before he could help Han Zixin. Han Zixin knew what EMO was thinking and said, "You can go back and take care of the matters with Luo Yu first. The Ice Helm Island issue started some months ago. It doesn't matter if we put it aside for a few more days." At this moment, Yi Mo's phone sounded again. It was Su Yuehua again, but her tone was very desperate. She told EMO that Liang Jun and Luna had left Luo Yu that morning. They were headed to Sri Lanka. Immediately lock down Luo Yu and control all the sea routes. EMO knew that their departure would only get Yixing exposed. They might even spill out some of Luo Yu's military structures. In order to prevent similar things happening again, EMO asked Su Yuehua to lock down Luo Yu without hesitation. After finishing this call, EMO got up and said to Han Zixin, "Elder Han, I will definitely remember to go the Ice Helm Island. I will go after the problems with Luo Yu are solved. Zhang Ju and Li, who are my friends, I won't leave them like that." Han Zixin knew that EMO was so busy that it was already significant that he had agreed to help him. It was unrealistic for him to put aside Luo Yu matters just to go immediately. EMO left with Luo Yu. He wasn't even in the mood to ask about the ores. He needed to get back to Luo Yu and solve these issues as soon as possible. Luo Ying suddenly realized that she should start cultivating more. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to help EMO at all. Since EMO had chosen to build with his strength his own city, she should help him and not be deadweight. As though he knew what Luo Ying was thinking, EMO squeezed her hand and said, "Susu, don't worry, I will deal with this. Also, there's something I've been too scared to tell you about." EMO finally found an opportunity to tell her about Ning Qingxue. Luo Ying saw EMO's awkward expression and covered his mouth with her hand. "Don't tell me now. Let me go see her first." This made EMO feel even more awkward. He had thought Luo Ying didn't know about it, but she did. It must have been Bei Wei, that girl. EMO. Someone calling his name made him go back to reality. He had been so concentrated that he hadn't even noticed someone approaching him. But he could see who it was now. It Wang Ying. He met her everywhere. There were two people next to her, and one of them was Su Jingwen's cousin Su Mei. EMO didn't really like her, but that was in the past. "Wang Ying, how come I end up seeing you everywhere? Don't you need to work?" Wang Ying was someone EMO could relax around since she was quite open, so it didn't matter if he joked with her. "Is that your girlfriend?" Wang Ying looked at Luo Ying in shock, wondering where had EMO found such a beautiful girl to be his girlfriend. EMO nodded. "Yes, she's Luo Ying." "Luo Ying, this is my college classmate Wang Ying. She has helped me many times." "Hello, Luo Ying." Wang Ying was a little nervous speaking to such a goddess. "Hello," Luo Ying said. "By the way, this is Su Mei and her friend. Do you still remember her?" Wang Ying said while pointing at Su Mei and the other person. EMO smiled. "Of course, long time no see." "Hello, EMO. Your girlfriend is so pretty." Su Mei felt very strange. She had looked down on EMO before, yet he had such a pretty girlfriend. That girl, Luo Ying, was probably prettier than Ning Qingxue. He was really lucky. Wang Ying saw that the atmosphere was a little awkward, so she quickly said, "By the way, the handsome and bulky Wang Su brother is back today. He's going to be developing his career in Beijing, so he's inviting everyone to eat. You can join later on too. It's at the Kai Yuan restaurant, right in front of us. Many elite members of Beijing are coming. EMO, if you're going to develop your career here, you must come tonight." EMO smiled. "I won't go. I still have some things to take care of with Luo Ying. Have fun." He had heard of Wang Su before. EMO had a good impression of him. "That's a pity. If Sister Luo Yu came tonight, she would be the #1 goddess," Wang Ying said. Luo Ying suddenly said to EMO, "EMO, I just saw a person go into that restaurant. He was the person who pretended to be you on the plane. Although he took the mask off, I'm sure it's him. If that was the case, then no matter how busy he was, he had that time to spare." He immediately said to Wang Ying, "Okay, but we don't have an invitation. Could you get us in?" Wang Ying was happy that Emo and the others would be joining. When they went inside, there were already quite some people there. As soon as they sat down, waiters started to serve wine and juices. Wang Ying sat next to Luoying intentionally. She tried asking her about a lot of things, but Luoying wasn't good at talking, so she ended up listening on the side. When Wang Ying spoke about Yimo's hardships in Ninghai, Luoying would listen carefully and ask something occasionally. When she heard that Yimo had been kicked out of the Yi family and for a while hadn't had money for food, her eyes turned red. Yimo looked helplessly at his big-mouthed friend, but he could only let her do as she pleased. At the same time, he kept his spirit sense on the man who had tricked Luoying to come Beijing. He didn't want to touch him for now. He would wait for the rest of his crew to come. Sumei looked at how Luoying acted around Yimo and suddenly felt uncomfortable. What did Yimo have? He was just an abandoned son that just knew how to act cocky. How had he gotten the love of someone as pretty as Luoying? Luoying was so pretty that she couldn't even get jealous. Yimo, long time no see. How did you get rich? Ever since Yimo had rejected her initiation, she had been very unhappy. Yimo noticed her condescending attitude, but he just smiled. I'm doing a bit of everything now. I'm not really rich. Sumei sneered. He must have tricked Luoying into dating him. She was obviously just an innocent girl. She would expose him in front of her. For a girl like Luoying, anywhere she went, she would be the center of attention. A few men had already come over to talk to her, but one was specially audacious. He was a tall young man. He carried a glass of red wine and came onto her like a gentleman. He bowed and said, "Hello, beautiful lady. I'm Wang Qianjun. Could I have the honor of knowing your name?" Luoying frowned and thought that he was being rude. Couldn't he see she was talking to someone else? Wang Ying glanced at Wang Qianjun and suddenly felt that she shouldn't have called Yimo and Luoying there. There were a lot of people with whom Yimo couldn't mess. Sumei suddenly started to get interested. She had heard about Wang Qianjun. He was Wang Su's cousin, and also a member of the Beijing Wang family. He had quite some status. He was very lustful and wouldn't pass by a beautiful lady like Luoying just like that. Sumei really wanted to know what Yimo was going to sow. The best outcome for her would be if Wang Qianjue took Luoying from Yimo in front of his face. That would please her the most. Luoying just didn't reply. Wang Qianjun was about to speak again when Yimo said, "Wang Qianjun, I know you. 2 years ago you encountered robbers on your way to Flowing Snake. You left your girlfriend with the robbers and ran away yourself. It's you, right?" Wang Qianjun heard this and his face immediately changed. Who could know about this other than Xiao Lei? Did she tell anyone? After hearing this, not only Wang Ying but Sumei and other people looked at him in shock. When Yimo said this, Wang Qianjuan's face had changed, but he hadn't denied it. So people knew that it might be true. Some girls immediately started looking down on Wang Qianjun. They hadn't expected him to be such a pig. If that got spread, then no matter how tall, handsome, and rich he was, no girl would really want to be with him. They would at most go for his money. Bullshit. Who are you? Wang Qianjun reacted. If Xiao Lei had told anyone, he wouldn't let her go. But when he realized that the Xiao family wasn't scared of the Wang family, he was unsatisfied. Yimo sneered. You ask me who I am? I'm someone who saw it with his own eyes. Yo, you're the one who got out of the Audi. Wang Qianjun recognized Yimo when he looked at him again. As soon as he said this, he realized that he was somehow admitting it. Yimo smiled. That's right, that was me. She was really unlucky to have met you. Yimo, you're right. It's indeed unlucky to know scum like him. A feminine voice sounded. Xiao Lei, what do you mean? Wang Qianjuan's face looked bad. He hadn't expected Xiao Lei to have come too. Scum. You have no right to ask what I mean. I really don't want to talk to someone like you. I was really blind in the past. Xiao Lei glared at Wang Qianjun and came up to Yimo. You have guts. Wang Qianjun looked coldly at Yimo and said. Yimo sat down and didn't get up. He put down his glass of wine and said, Piss off. If he didn't have to check up on the man who didn't come out, Yimo would have kicked him already, but that would cause too much commotion. You! Wang Qianjun wanted to rage, but before he could, someone already pulled him aside and took his spot. The person who pulled Wang Qianjun away didn't even look at him, and instead said joyfully to Yemo, "Haha, young Master Mo, I didn't think I would see you at my welcome evening. I'm so lucky." It was Wang Su. Yemo had met him at Su Jingwen's birthday party. Yemo got up and shook hands with him. "I just happened to see Wang Ying and decided to come over. Long time no see." "Yes, long time no see. Oh, journalist Xiao is here too." "Hello?" Wang Su looked at Xiao Lei. In this moment Xiao Lei saw Luo Ying and asked Yemo, "Yemo? This is?" "Oh, this is Luo Ying, my wife." Yemo held Luo Ying's hand and replied, "Yemo, you're married?" Wang Ying and Xiao Lei asked at the same time. Wang Ying had thought Luo Ying was Yemo's girlfriend. Xiao Lei was even more shocked. She had always thought that it would be Ning Qingxue who would marry Yemo. But it was this girl. Xiao Lei really wanted to ask what Ning Qingxue was going to do. Although she wanted to ask really badly, she knew now wasn't the right time. "Congratulations! I didn't think young Master Mo was married," Wang Su said in admiration. "Wang Su, today's the day you start working in Beijing. You're the next family leader that Grandpa chose. You don't need to waste your time with irrelevant people," Wang Qianjun said. Wang Su seemed to have just noticed Wang Qianjun's presence. He just said coldly, "Piss off." Wang Qianjun's expression changed. He didn't expect his cousin to be that rude. He was a direct cousin of the family lineage. How dare he insult him like this in front of a stranger? He looked hatefully at Yemo and left. Su Mei was astonished. She really didn't understand how an abandoned son had managed to become close with Wang Su. Yemo looked at Wang Qianjun and sneered. He didn't say anything. If Wang Qianjun came looking for trouble, it would be like looking to be crushed. Wang Su ignored Wang Qianjun and said to Yemo and the others, "Have a seat. I need to greet some more guests." Yemo nodded. Then he saw another two people go into that room. From their faces he could tell that they already knew he and Luo Ying were there. Since they had come, it meant that they also knew Wang Su. "Luo Ying, you're really pretty. Did you just marry Yemo?" Xiao Lei felt that she was simple compared to Luo Ying's beauty and felt a little sour. Luo Ying smiled. That gesture was like 100 flowers blooming. Even Xiao Lei lost her mind for a second. "Yes, Yemo said that when we go back we'll have a big wedding." Together with the two men who entered the room, another man and woman also went inside. Including the first guy, there were 5 people in the room now. He actually knew the woman who just went in. She was Sister Ling, the one he had taken the extreme energy stone from. Yemo had found out later on from Lu Na that she was her sister Lu Lin. Theoretically, she should have been punished by Northern Sand, so why was she still there? Moreover, the rest of the people seemed to be getting along well. The moment he saw Lu Lin, Yemo knew why Lu Na and her boyfriend had left Luoyu. It was due to her sister. Yemo felt something wasn't right. These people were undoubtedly from Northern Sand, but was Northern Sand really that easy to talk to? The extreme energy stone was too important, and Lu Lin had lost it. How could she still be fine? But no matter what, since he had seen Lu Lin there, then Lu Na might also come there. He just had to keep an eye on these people. He must not allow Lu Na to spill Luo Yu's security details, even though she didn't know much. Thinking about this, Yemo suddenly got up and said to Luo Ying, "Wait here for me. I have some business to take care of. I'll be back soon." Luo Ying nodded. "Go. I will wait here for you." She of course knew what Yemo was doing. She was very confident in his power. Yemo said goodbye to Wang Ying and Xiao Lei before leaving. He wanted to get inside to spy on them, but for that he had to go out first. He was sure that the Northern Sand people were watching him too, so he had to go out first and turn invisible before coming back inside. "What is Yemo doing?" Xiao Lei asked. Luo Ying smiled but didn't reply. She wasn't good at lying, so she didn't say anything. "By the way, Luo Ying, where are you guys planning to celebrate your wedding? Do you already have a date?" Xiao Lei asked again. Luo Ying shook her head. "I don't know yet, whenever Yemo decides." Hearing this, the other girls glanced at each other. They admired Luo Ying's beauty, but she was submissive in their eyes. Yemo was really capable. Where had he found a girl like this? Nowadays, Both parties negotiated on the wedding date. Sumei felt even more unsatisfied. She didn't know why, but the better Emo was, the more she was uncomfortable. Just when they were all chatting comfortably, she suddenly intervened. Luoying, do you know about Emo's past? Luoying smiled. Wang Ying already told me. I already know everything. No, I'm not talking about that. A test at the hospital showed that Emo was impotent. Sumei wanted Luoying to leave him, so she had to do this while Emo wasn't there. Wang Ying's expression changed drastically. Sumei, why are you talking about this? Emo is also our classmate. Xiao Lei had investigated Emo before, so she also got to hear about this. However, she cared more about a person's character, not about his physical conditions. She also looked at Sumei in confusion. Did she hate Emo or something? Luoying wasn't dumb. When she first saw Emo and Sumei together, she felt tension between the two of them. But Emo didn't mention anything, and she stayed polite. But now Sumei was talking behind Emo's back, which made her very angry. She knew better than anyone else whether Emo was impotent or not. She couldn't even take his fervor sometimes. Yet Sumei dared to say something like that about her husband. This made her angry immediately. At the same time, she felt Sumei was really shameless. If Emo hadn't told her to wait there, she would have left already. She looked coldly at Sumei. You don't need to worry about my husband. That's my business. Also, I don't want to sit next to someone like you. Please move aside. Sumei's expression changed. She hadn't thought someone as gentle as Luoying had this side. Sumei couldn't stay there anymore. She got up and pulled Wang Ying. I'm leaving, are you coming? Then, she left without waiting for a reply. Wang Ying said helplessly to Luoying, I'll go check on her. Although she didn't like the way Sumei was talking, she was her still good friend and she couldn't just let her leave like that. When Wang Ying caught up with Sumei, she said unhappily, Luoying is like a goddess. Why did you say that? You went overboard. Sumei sneered. I'm doing this for her benefit. It'd be such a waste if someone like her got tricked by Emo. But now it seems like she deserves it. What's wrong with Emo? I feel he's really nice. I really don't understand why you hate him. Also, he's not that anymore. Wang Ying was angry. He's not? How do you know? Have you been to bed with him? Sumei was getting fired up too. Hearing Sumei's words made Wang Ying unhappy. Don't say that, but Emo is fine. His sister told me. So it's not like that, and I think you need to calm down. Sumei sneered. Yiling is Emo's sister. How would she know? Who are you lying to? Wang Ying was angry now too. She sneered. Yiling's doormate, Tianhe, told Yiling. Can that be fake? Sumei suddenly took out her phone, looked at Wang Ying and said, Wang Ying, I know you're trying to speak up for Emo, but I happen to know Tianhe. She's in the same company as me. I'll call her right now so you can hear for yourself. Wang Ying was dumbfounded. She didn't understand why she was so serious about such a small matter. Sumei's call went through quickly. Tianhe, it's me, Sumei. No, I just need to ask you a quick question about that guy Emo. Yes, her brother. I heard that after a hospital checkup, he was found to be, you've heard about it too. Sumei looked satisfied at Wang Ying and continued. Yes, I heard other people say the checkup was fake. What? Is it really fake? How do you know? What did that pervert do to you? I know. Don't say that. How could I go to bed with him? I'm just asking. Big. I don't like big. Wang Ying looked at Sumei, who looked like a defeated rooster, and said, Sumei, you're not from a small family? Don't you know about family wars? Emo was a sacrifice in one of those fights. Of course the checkup is fake. Look at how happy his girlfriend Luoying is. Stop trying to change the facts, it's real. Let's go and apologize. I won't go apologize. Even if Emo is fine, he doesn't even have a stable job. He doesn't deserve to be with a girl like her. It's like a flower planted on cow dung. Yet that woman deserves it, Sumei said in contempt. Wang Ying shook her head and walked towards Luoying. Emo entered the room invisible and started to eavesdrop. Their conversation was very succinct. They were indeed Northern Sand members, and the person who had pretended to be him was called Captain Lu. Regarding the man and woman who had come in last, Lu Lin was the woman and the man was called Scorpion. The moment Emo saw him, he knew that it was the guy that had been watching him at the airport. He only had Luo Ying in his eyes at the time and had ignored him. Emo and Luo Ying are here. Is that intentional? Captain Lu asked. Scorpion shook his head. Probably not. They coincidentally met Wang Ying and Su Mei at the door and they brought them inside. It seems like he knows Wang Su and they're quite Cielodish. Young Master Yong, don't be impulsive. Captain Lu stopped the white-skinned young man. That bastard broke my brother's legs. Our Dai family's enmity with him is deep like the sea. The white man roared. Emo just realized that this young Master Yong was Dai Heng's brother. Other than that Captain Lu who was at the yellow level middle stage and the man who didn't talk who was at the yellow level ladder stage, the other three were ordinary people. Captain Lu waved his hand and seemed to have gotten some news. A moment later he said, Emo just left. Only Luo Ying is still inside. Lu Na and Liang Jun will come to Beijing tonight, and we have arranged to meet at 2 a.m. outside the Yan Shui River, but Lu Lin must go. Hearing this, Dai Yong got up suddenly. Captain Lu, since Luo Ying is alone, he was stopped by Captain Lu. I know you want that Luo Ying, but you can't now. Every day Emo is alive is a day you can't touch her, even if we capture her. Moreover, this is the Wang family's turf, and Wang Su is close to Emo. We can't do anything here even if the opportunity is right. Who knows if Emo comes back suddenly. To be honest, we're not even big enough for him to care about killing us. Emo sneered. This handful of people was indeed not enough for him to kill. He could deal with them with just a couple of fireballs. Emo didn't want to keep listening anymore now that he knew where they would be meeting up. He would go to the river at night. Just when Emo wanted to leave, his spirit sense noticed that a waitress who was wiping a table had been wiping that table for a long time. Emo looked a bit closer, and she was very emaciated, and her face was covered in scars. Emo looked at her body, and her chest and back were also covered in scars. Although her eyes looked really calm, Emo could feel the hatred in her eyes. Emo felt strange. The woman gave him a sense of familiarity, but he couldn't remember who she was. Soon, Emo saw a small black dot in her ears. It was a listening device. Emo immediately thought to check the room those 5 people had been in and searched it with his spirit sense. Under one of the chairs, he found a listening device indeed. So she was listening to those northern sand guys too. It was fine as long as she didn't get in his way. Emo didn't keep looking at her and left. When Emo walked to the door, he saw a few people sitting around the same table as Luo Ying. Su Mei was also there, but Luo Ying's brow was frowned. The truth was that if Emo hadn't told her to wait there, she would have left already. Emo knew all those people. Other than Qiu Jitan and Han Dan, there was also Qiu Zhixue whom he almost gave a beating once. Emo had heard that Qiu Zhixue was the best in the young generation of the Qiu family, and the guy did have some brains as he didn't attack Emo straight away back then at Wudong restaurant, so he managed to avoid Emo's wrath. Emo walked up to Luo Ying and said, I'm back. Seeing this, Luo Ying got up and held Emo's arm. She really detested the people around her. Su Mei sneered. The people who were there that day were all very powerful. They were people even Wang Su couldn't be rude to. As for Qiu Zhixue, even Wang Su's dad had to be careful in front of him. Just when Qiu Zhirong and Han Dan were prepared to chat to Luo Ying, they saw Emo and their hearts immediately skipped a beat. When they saw Luo Ying hold Emo's arm, their faces went pale. Han Dan was regretting so much that he wanted to disappear. If he knew Emo was there, he wouldn't so much as show his face, if he would even come at all. Yet now not only did he appear in front of him, he was also standing in front of his woman. Brother Yi. Han Dan looked down and greeted carefully. Young Master Mo. Qiu Zhirong didn't have his previous alpha male vibe anymore either. Young Master Mo, I didn't think you would be coming here. It's really an honor. Qiu Zhixue saw Emo, and his face immediately changed, but his composure was good, and he quickly reacted and extended his hand towards Emo. Emo sneered and ignored him. Then, he scanned them and said, What do you want to say here? Nothing. We were just passing by and wanted to say hi to journalist Xiao, Qiu Zhirong quickly explained. In that case, piss off already, Emo said coldly. Yes, I will piss off immediately. Qiu Zhirong was scared that his legs would also be broken. Although Qiu Zhirong didn't dare say anything, Qiu Zhishua's face was green. He didn't think Emo would be that cocky. He clenched his fingernails into his palm, and blood even started dripping out a bit, but he didn't dare say no. If he did or resisted in any way, Emo might even kill him. Emo was a madman that no one could control. Han Dan, is there any good in hanging out with this scum every day? Don't lose face for Han Zixin. Piss off too. Emo felt annoyed thinking that Han Zixin was trying to fight the Northern Sand people while his descendant was hanging out close to them. Yes, Brother Yi, I will leave immediately. Han Dan quickly left. Qiu Zhishue also wanted to leave, but he was stopped by Emo. You wait. I still have something to ask you. Although Qiu Zhishue wanted to shoot Emo and eat his flesh on the spot, he had to stop and listen to Emo. Sume was astonished. These people who were too powerful for her to even talk to were acting like rats in front of a cat. Even Qiu Zhishue was like this. She didn't want to believe it, but that was the reality. How could Emo do all that? Sume wanted to scream. Emo? Who are you? Wasn't he the abandoned son of the Yi family? Young Master Emo, I heard you're in Beijing, so I came to greet you. Haha. You're here indeed. A man with a loud voice ran over. Sume didn't know this person, but from how everyone greeted him when he walked over, she knew that he was even more powerful than Qiu Zhishue. Qiu Zhishue also greeted, Chief Du. I didn't think you'd be here too. Oh Zhishue, you're here too. Haha. I came to see instructor. The middle-aged man changed the title he used for Emo. Yes. Young Master Mo was going to ask me to something. So here I am, Qiu Zhishue said. Emo smiled. Captain Du, you got news from Elder Han, right? Also, don't call me instructor. That sounds too distant. Emo did indeed know Du Tao very well. He was Flying Snow's instructor and also the vice chief commander of Beijing. Seeing that Emo was just talking to Du Tao and hadn't even looked at him, Qiu Zhishue decided to keep enduring it and asked, Young Master Mo, do you need me for anything? If not, even Du Tao stopped at this point. Although his status made Qiu Zhishue respect him, it really was nothing compared to the Qiu family, so he couldn't just ignore Qiu Zhishue. Emo glanced at Qiu Zhishue and said, I heard Li Chuyoung was targeted by the Qiu and Dai family? He even has to go to jail, right? Qiu Zhishue heard this, and he was mind-blown. If Emo was going to intervene in that, then their two families wouldn't have a certain victory anymore. Emo was an unreasonable madman who even the president, the Han family, as well as the fading-out Zhang family were helping. But now that Emo had asked, he couldn't just not answer. He quickly said, There's no such thing. I'm very close to Brother Chuyang, he's just assisting with the investigation a bit. He'll be fine in no time. Emo didn't want to intervene in these fights, so he said plainly, Li Chuyoung has helped me quite a lot. I'm not interested in your business, but I don't want anything to happen to him. Take my word, my patience is limited. If I don't hear news from him quickly, I will go visit your family. Threats. His words were purely threats. Emo didn't even want to know what was going on, yet he asked for them to let go of Li Chuyoung. Li Chuyoung was an elite of the Li family and had a similar status to his. If they had to let go Li Chuyoung, it would be like a slap in the face. Luckily, Emo said that he wasn't interested in their fights. Although Qiu Zhishue really wanted to tell Emo that he wasn't even in charge of it and to just please mind his own business, he didn't dare to. Yes, I will let them know. Qiu Zhishue suppressed his anger. He really wondered if the Dai and Qiu family together could take on Emo or not. Because this involved family battles between the Dai and Qiu family, Du Tao didn't intervene. He knew that only Emo would dare talk about it. Other people didn't even dare mention it. After being told off by Emo, Qiu Zhishue no longer had the face to stay there. He didn't even say goodbye to Wang Su and just left. Xiao Lei looked at Emo speechless. The gathering had just started, and Emo had already kicked 4 people away. Emo smiled and greeted the people he knew before leaving with Luo Ying. When she saw Yimo and Luo Ying leave, Su Mei came back to her senses. She hesitated before looking at Xiao Lei and asking, "Journalist Xiao, how is it that Yimo is this so dash?" Xiao Lei suddenly got bored after Yimo left. She got up too and just smiled at Su Mei. But she didn't answer. She didn't want to talk to Su Mei much because of her attitude to Yimo. "Su, after I'm done taking care of some things here, we will go back and live together in Luoyu. One day we will just stay in Luoyu, and there will be no need to run around," Yimo said with guilt to Luo Ying. He knew that Luo Ying wished to have a peaceful life, yet he was taking her everywhere and made her worry. Luo Ying smiled and didn't say anything. She just moved closer to Yimo. After a long while, she said, "Tell me about her. Is it Qingxue or that girl?" Yimo was dazed and subconsciously asked, "Who is that girl? Then, is it Qingxue?" Luo Ying fell silent. Although she didn't have any blood relations with Qingxue, she was still her aunt. She had only scanned Qingxue when she saw her, and she didn't look at her carefully. She just knew Qingxue was a pretty girl. "Sorry, Susu." Yimo really didn't know how to explain this to her. He understood what she meant by that girl. She was probably talking about Qi Wanqing. Seeing Yimo's guilty expression, Luo Ying smiled and grabbed his hand. "Don't apologize. I don't mind as long as I can be with you. I think that if Qingxue loves you, she won't mind either." Yimo embraced Luo Ying and felt excited. He knew that Luo Ying wouldn't object to it. It was easier for Luo Ying to accept it as she still had memories of Luo Ying continent. "Susu, I'll tell you about Qingxue." N. Yimo told Luo Ying the story as they walked slowly by the Yen riverbank. After telling Luo Ying everything that had happened, her eyes were red. She had completely accepted Ning Qingxue in her heart. She hadn't expected Ning Qingxue to be such a strong-willed girl, and that in order to wait for her, they still hadn't gotten married yet. If it wasn't for her, perhaps Yimo would have died at Xianxia. Yimo saw Luo Ying's worry and held her a little tighter. The couple just stopped by the riverbank. After a while, an animal howled and startled them. Luo Ying caressed Yimo's hair and asked softly, "Should we go back now?" Yimo smiled and said, "Wait. Something will happen tonight. Things might get bloody. How about I take you to the hotel and come pick you up after I'm done?" Luo Ying shook her head. "No, I will go with you." "Okay, we'll do that then." Yimo didn't try to persuade her. Regardless of whether she would get her memories back, there were some things people had to face living in this world. "Susu, did you have a look at the diary I gave you last time? That book was the most important thing that could help her awaken her memories." Luo Ying said quietly, "Not yet. I'm still learning the Luo Yu words you taught me. I want to read it after I learn them." "Okay. Remember to tell me once you're done," Yimo said with a dirty smile. Luo Ying blushed. Although she really wanted to read it, she didn't want the mood to be ruined by her bad comprehension. Realizing this, she was just about to kiss Yimo when he said, "They're here. Let's watch them from the side." As soon as Luo Ying and Yimo moved to the side, for people gathered there. Only Dai Yong wasn't there. They all had a gun, and that Captain Lu even had two. What made Yimo realize something was off was that Lu Lin was tied up and there was even some cloth stuffed in her mouth. Yimo had seen them on good terms before. Why were they tying Lu Lin up now? He was sure that Lu Lin wasn't putting on a show. Yimo spread out his spirit sense and was soon dazed. He saw that the woman with the scarred face was also coming. She was holding a few throwing knives in her hands while hiding. Other than the woman hiding in a ditch, there were two more people hiding near the banks, and Yimo could tell they were from northern sand. The other four didn't wait for long before a subtle humming engine sounded from somewhere down the river. The sound was barely even noticeable. Hearing it, the four immediately spread out as they watched the river carefully. It was a small private yacht. As the yacht neared the bank, Yimo soon noticed that it was Lu Na and Liang Jun inside. Lu Na carried a case out, but Liang Jun didn't leave the yacht and stayed on the ship. "Lu Na, you're trustworthy indeed, but we didn't lie to you either. Your sister is here," Captain Lu said casually as he saw Lu Na get on shore. Lu Na didn't reply, because even though she saw Lu Lin was tied up with a piece of cloth in her mouth. Sister. Lu Na felt relieved nonetheless. Lu Lin struggled and made some sound, but it was useless. I've brought your sister here, and we didn't do anything to her. Where is the thing? We will trade at the same time. Of course, if you're willing to come back to Northern Sand, we welcome you girls. Captain Lu laughed as he grabbed Lu Lin's chest. Lu Lin immediately looked at Captain Lu in anger and whimpered. Lu Na sneered. You're that Captain Lu, right? Don't touch my sister. I brought the thing, but if you dare play any tricks, I can always make the thing in my hand explode. Very well, we just want the Chang 265 data and the Luoyu interference machine. You give me those, and I'll let you take your sister away immediately, Captain Lu said casually. Lu Na immediately sneered. Captain Lu? Who do you think I am? I just joined Luoyu, and to be honest, if it wasn't for City Lord Su being really nice to us, we wouldn't even have had a chance to leave the city. How can I get information on the interference machine? You overestimate me. I'm telling you now, I only have info on Chang 265. I have the complete data, because my teacher discovered it. Emo suddenly told Luo Ying to wait and then went towards the yacht. This Captain Lu was evil indeed. While he was negotiating with Lu Na, the two people hidden by the river had left, and they seemed to be going for Liang Jun. Captain Lu suddenly ripped the clothes from Lu Lin's mouth. Your sister isn't cooperating, so I have no other way. Don't. Lu Lin dodged Captain Lu's hand and called out to her sister. Nana? Who told you to come? I told you I was fine. I didn't tell you to come. Lu Lin shouted worriedly. Sister, all is good as long as you're fine. Even if I have to risk my life, I will take you back. Before Dad left, he said we should rely on each other for survival. I can't leave you behind, Lu Na replied with red eyes. Then Lu Na said to Captain Lu, let my sister go, and I'll give the thing to you immediately. Captain Lu said to Lu Lin, persuade your sister. If she doesn't give us the Luoyu interference machine, then don't blame me for killing her too. Nana, if you brought it, then give it to him, Lu Lin said while signaling Lu Na with her eyes. Lu Na didn't know what Lu Lin meant, and just when she was thinking about it, Lu Lin suddenly broke free from Captain Lu and charged towards Lu Na. Captain Lu and company were caught off guard and forgot to do anything, while Lu Na reacted immediately and ran to Lu Lin. Emo sneered. He was sure that Lu Lin had betrayed Lu Na. Otherwise, there was no way that Captain Lu wouldn't react. But before knowing the exact situation, Emo didn't move. He really wanted to know how much intel Lu Na had brought out. If Luoyu's important intel was that easily taken out, then that would mean they had a huge security risk. However, what everyone didn't expect was that when Lu Lin was still 2 meters from Lu Na, a flying dagger shot out from a nearby ditch into Lu Lin's throat. Lu Lin stopped in her tracks, and she subconsciously held her throat. She gurgled before falling to the ground. Sister! Lu Na was dumbfounded by the scene and cried out. Nana! I'm right here. I'm not dead. I am your sister Lu Lin. That woman is a fake. A woman in black clothes came out with her eyes staring closely at Captain Lu and company. Her voice was very coarse. Emo realized only then that this woman who had her face ruined was Lu Lin. No wonder she had shown such strong hate. Thinking about how that extremely busted woman became a bony woman with a destroyed face, Emo felt a little sad. He knew that it was related to him. If it wasn't for him, Lu Lin wouldn't be in her current state. Sister. Lu Na looked at that extremely thin person and couldn't connect it to her sister. She was sure that Lu Lin never wore any disguises. So why did this woman say she was her sister? But she could feel the concern this black-clothed woman had for her. She underwent plastic surgery? Lu Lin wondered. Hearing this, Emo realized it was no wonder he couldn't tell anything before. That day when you saw Mother, don't tell anyone, only we can know. The black-clothed woman spoke while keeping her eyes on Captain Lu. Sister. Lu Na finally realized that this disfigured person was her sister. She hugged her sister's back and cried. The moment Lu Na hugged her, Lu Lin knew it wasn't good. Captain Lu and company pulled out their guns and fired shots. Captain Lu sneered. Lu Lin, even if you ran away, you still have to pay the price today. Lu Lin immediately realized that she had been too excited. How could she hug her sister at this time? She would stop her sister from pulling out the knives. But there was no medicine for regret in this world, and gunshots sounded loud and clear. She could even feel a bullet was flying towards them. She laughed in despair. So what if we die? It's worth it to die with sister. However, even after many shots, Lu Lin and Lu Na were shocked to discover that they hadn't been shot and were still standing. Not far in front of them, a figure stood there. Although it was night, Lu Na still recognized that it was Yemo. He had blocked all the bullets and saved them. Yemo looked at the bullets and smiled to Captain Lu. "You're from Northern Sand, right? It's you? Yemo, we didn't mess with you, so why are you fighting us again? We've already agreed to your conditions in Jiutang, haven't we?" Captain Lu saw Yemo, and his heart sunk to the bottom. Yemo suddenly flicked out 2 bullets, and they pierced the heads of Scorpion and the yellow-level tertiary stage man. Seeing this, Captain Lu's heart went cold. Yemo was indeed a slaughter god. "Didn't mess with me?" Yemo sneered and continued. "Who tricked Luoying to come to Beijing? Furthermore, Lu Na is a member of Luoyu, and who tricked her here?" Captain Lu opened his mouth but couldn't explain anything. He subconsciously looked at the river. Yemo sneered. "No need to look for them. They were freed from this world a step earlier than you." Captain Lu knew he was over. When he was about to commit suicide, his face was kicked and the poison fell out together with his tooth. Before he fainted, he heard Yemo say, "Don't always pull that move. I really want to know what's the difference between you guys and the Black Sun Empire." Luoying came over to Yemo's side. When Lu Na saw Yemo, her heart also sunk. She knew her actions meant that she betrayed Luoyu, but she soon remembered her sister and glanced at her again. When she saw the scars and how her face didn't have a single part of healthy skin, she couldn't help to cry. At this moment, Liang Jun got off the yacht and came to Yemo. He knew Yemo, but he could only bow and then stand on the side. After a long while, Lu Lin moved Lu Na to the side and bowed to Yemo. "Yemo, I've heard great things of you. Thanks for saving me and my sister." Lu Na stood behind her sister without saying anything. Yemo thought it was strange her behavior. No matter what Lu Na had done was betraying Luoyu, why didn't she seem truly guilty? Yemo scanned the case and found that other than a bomb, there was only a stack of strange, useless papers. So it was all fake. She had wanted to just take her sister and run without giving away Luoyu's secrets, but she had underestimated North Sand too much. Even if she had brought the real things, she wouldn't have been able to get away if she hadn't encountered him. Sorry. Lu Lin knew that Yemo was a part of Luoyu, but she didn't know which position he was at. Yemo smiled. "Lu Na is one of Luoyu's scientists. I trusted that she wouldn't actually bring our data." Although Yemo knew that Su Yuehua wouldn't let people access Luoyu's secrets easily, Lu Na hadn't even brought the Chang 265. He was very grateful for that. Hearing this, Lu Na's eyes turned red. She had never really planned on taking the intel with her. Yemo had saved her life and Su Yuehua treated her like a sister. How could she betray Luoyu? Furthermore, she knew what spilling Luoyu's secrets meant. It would mean hundreds of thousands of lives. How could she do that? She had thought Yemo would get angry, yet he forgave her without asking anything. Lu Na didn't explain either. All was good as long as Yemo trusted her. She turned around and hugged Lu Lin. "Sister, why are you so skinny? How did these animals torture you? They truly are beasts." Lu Lin smiled bitterly. "I'm just very happy that I get to see you. The physical pain doesn't mean much to me." Yemo coughed and said, "This also concerns me. If it hadn't been for me, perhaps Lu Lin wouldn't have been tortured." Lu Lin heard this and shook her head. "We were on different sides at the time. It has nothing to do with you." Yemo didn't explain why it was related to him. He just took out a face-preserving pill and said, "This is a face-preserving pill. It can heal your face and lets you stay young forever. Take it as compensation." Ha! Lu Lin hadn't expected that she could one day have such a powerful pill. She was dumbfounded. She had heard of it, of course, but there were very few of them in the world. It was said that the Princess of Northern Sand had gotten one. but Northern Sand had to spend many hundred millions to get it. Brother Yi, thank you, Lu Na thanked him. Then, she hurried her sister to go inside the yacht and take it. Seeing that Yimo wasn't going to punish them, Liang Jun finally could rest assured. He liked Luo Yu, but Lu Na had to save her sister, so he could only come with her. After Lu Lin left, Lu Na noticed Luo Ying's presence, which confused her. She knew that Ning Qingxue was Yimo's wife. How was he with another woman now? Had he dumped sister Qingxue? However, she kept these thoughts for herself. She couldn't ask about it. Half an hour later, Lu Lin took out a mirror and saw her recovered face. She immediately started crying out of happiness. Who would want to have their face destroyed? She was only a little skinnier, but she had much better temperament than before. Sister, are you okay now? Lu Na charged inside and hugged Lu Lin again. Her sister was the only relative she had in this world. Where do we go now? Lu Lin asked. Sister, come with Liang Jun and me to Luo Yu. It's really pretty and welcoming. Lu Na immediately thought of Luo Yu. They really didn't have anywhere else to go except there. Lu Lin looked hopeful. But, will Yimo agree? In that moment, Yimo walked inside with Luo Ying and smiled. Of course, you can get a plane to Luo Yu tomorrow. He had interrogated Captain Lu and the reason why they had gone after Lu Na. They had managed to contact Lu Na from her private social media account. This made Yimo feel that they should tighten Luo Yu's network security, but Yixing really couldn't do everything by himself. Yet, Captain Lu was just a pawn, and he only knew that the Dai family had joined Northern Sand. That night, Yimo went back to Ninghai and took his sister Tang Beiwei to Beijing, where he was going to leave her. Luo Yu was about to go to war, and he didn't want Tang Beiwei to be by herself in Ninghai. The next morning, Yimo went to visit Elder Han and scanned the rare ore storage. He found another small piece of gung metal essence and blue-silver sand. He then took Luo Ying, Beiwei, Liang Jun and the Lu sisters to Qinghong Airport. As soon as they arrived to the airport, they encountered Li Qiuyang. He had lost a lot of weight. He thanked Yimo for saving his life. Li Qiuyang knew that other than Yimo, no one could help him. They weren't that close, yet Yimo had really helped him. The Dai and Qiu family indeed didn't dare go against Yimo. They knew that even Northern Sand feared him, and that he had certain status in Luo Yu. Moreover, Yimo had just said to let Li Qiuyang go, so they didn't dare not to listen. Yimo rejected Li Qiuyang's invitation because he realized it was his grandfather who was really inviting him. Li Qiuyang sighed. He knew that the reason Yimo had saved him was because he had helped him a few times. It was impossible, at least for now, to ask Yimo to help the Li family. There were still a few hours before the plane arrived to Luo Yu Airport, but Ning Qingxue had gone very early. She was anxious. She was going to see Luo Ying today, and she hadn't thought of what to say to her aunt yet. Immediately after Yimo left Beijing, everyone in Beijing got word of what had happened. That mattered especially to the Dai and Qiu family, because if Yimo left then that meant that he was keeping his word and wouldn't be intervening in the Beijing matters. The Li family leader also sighed. Although he knew all along that Yimo wouldn't come, he was still very disappointed. If Yimo could so much as just have a chat at their house, it would be an immeasurable help even if he did nothing. But after sighing, the Li family leader also rejoiced. It would make the Dai and Qiu family at least have some concerns that Yimo had saved Li Qiuyang. Regardless, from how Yimo was able to order a plane to leave from Beijing to Luo Yu whenever he wished, one could guess that his status wouldn't be low in Luo Yu. After all, Luo Yu had been restricting flights ever since the vandalism at their international stores. At the same moment, the Yi family was holding a very important meeting. After a few changes, the family leader position had come back to Yi Beirong. Although he really wanted to give it away already, Yi Zifeng, whom he had chosen, had already gone to Luo Yu. To be honest, Yi Beirong didn't feel too well about Yimo having come to Beijing without visiting the Yi family. He knew that the Yi family owed the three siblings quite a bit. Yi Wenkei was Yi Beiguang's son. Because Yi Wenqi and Yi Wenjin left Beijing and died, he was the most important figure in the second generation. Thinking similarly, he asked in confusion, Uncle, Yimo is also a part of the Yi family, and the reason why our family is still in Beijing is greatly due to him. I'm sure that he's the reason why they didn't touch the Yi family. And now it is clear that Emo has enmity with the Cho and Dai family, and he even beats them without concern. Why then are we still joining them to take on the Li family? Other people also looked at Yi Beirong after this question was asked. Yi Beirong sighed. If Yi Wentian was alive, he would be able to see what his intention was. It seemed the Yi family was really falling. He still had to answer though, so Yi Beirong said, "So you know that the reason why no one dared challenge the Yi family is due to Emo. Hence, without Emo, although we won't be completely taken, we will no longer be able to be a part of the 5 big families. I don't think I have to tell you that other people can find out about the problems between us and Emo. And we're just supporting the 2 families but not really doing anything. They know that too, but even if they know what our intentions are, they can't come and attack an ally. So we can only earn the greatest benefit if we support the 2 families. But if we support the 2 families, then won't we be fighting the Li family? Emo can't be really happy about that, right?" Yuan-K asked. Yi Beirong shook his head. "You still haven't seen the essence of the matter. The Li family won't fight the Yi family. We aren't taking any real action against them, and even if we did, they wouldn't fight us. They wouldn't want to leave a bad impression on Emo. As for Emo, he doesn't care about these sort of things at all. And even if he did, no matter what he thought of it, he wouldn't do anything to the Yi family." Yi Long finally understood what the family leader meant. The Li family would indeed not use their main force against the Yi family no matter which side the Yi family stood on. They might perhaps even help the Yi family in some ways, so it could be said that this was the best decision. Knowing what Yi Long thought, Yi Beirong said, "I was very worried before when Luo Yu was developing Inflowing Snake, but now that they moved to Luo Yu and invented the most advanced defense system in the world, I can rest assured. Emo is a prodigy and everyone in the Yi family, including myself, missed that. It is also normal that Yi Zifeng didn't stay in Beijing as the family leader. It's only right that he and Yi Ling went to help their brother." Yi Beirong paused. Although he also really wanted to go to Luo Yu, he couldn't throw away his face, and his identity didn't allow him to do that. That's why he tried to protect the Yi family. When worst came to worst, they could become a commercial family like the Zhua family. The first person Emo and Luo Ying saw when they got off the plane was Ning Qingxue. She seemed lonely standing there. Beside her was Silver, and it flew to Emo as soon as it saw him. The first feeling Ning Qingxue had when she saw Emo and Luo Ying standing next to each other was that she was an extra. She was sour and wanted to run into Yemo's arms, but she couldn't move her legs. Emo could feel Ning Qingshue's anxiety, so he walked up to her and gently embraced her. As Ning Qingxue hugged Emo tightly, her mind went blank. She had thought of many possible scenarios for when they saw each other again, but now she didn't know what to say. She remembered that Luo Ying was also there and immediately got out of Yemo's arms to find Luo Ying smiling at her on the side. Ning Qingxue wiped her eyes and said worriedly to Luo Ying, "Auntie, Luo Ying had gotten a completely different view of Ning Qingxue after hearing about how she had risked her life to save Emo. She walked up to Ning Qingxue naturally and held her hand. "Qingxue, are you still going to call me auntie? You should call me sister from now on." Ning Qingxue looked up in joy, and all the worry and anxiety she had been having for the past time was gone. Although Emo had told her that Luo Ying would accept her, when this day actually came, she was still full of surprise and joy. Sister Luo Ying - Ning Qingxue's tone was shaky. "Is it called Silver? It's so pretty." Luo Ying held Ning Qingxue's hand and looked at Silver while it was hugging Emo. "It's called Silver. Emo said it might be a blue phoenix, but its plumage hasn't changed color at all," Ning Qingxue said. Emo held Silver and looked at the 2 girls next to each other, and his heart surged with an extreme sense of satisfaction. Tang Beiwei stood at the back and sighed out of relief. She had been worrying about how things would go when Luo Ying and Ning Qingxue met. She didn't want to see either of them hurt. Su Yuehua and company also breathed a sigh of relief. They had all come very early that day, but they knew that it was time for Yemo's 2 wives to meet each other, so they didn't dare interrupt and waited from afar. Tang Beiwei liked Luo Ying more, whereas Yi Ling preferred Ning Qingxue. Su Yuehua was very happy that Emo had managed to bring both Lu Na and Liang Jun back. Although they hadn't taken a lot of intel, they had been living in the core sector of Luoyu. They had seen a lot of things. No matter how strong-willed a person is, it would be hard for them not to spill anything when being tortured. Yimo really wanted to have a private conversation with Luoying and Ning Qingxue, but he knew that Luoyu was still in trouble. If it was dealt with properly, Luoyu would keep soaring in the sky. But if not, they would lose everything. Hence, he gathered at the big meeting room with Su Ping, Su Yuehua, and the others immediately. Ning Qingxue and Luo Ying didn't participate in this meeting because they still had a lot of things to talk about. Furthermore, Ning Qingxue was only responsible for the financial sector. She didn't have to participate in these military meetings. Although Yimo frequently left Luoyu, he knew everything that had been going on. Yixing had planned everything. Yimo got very happy each time he came back. The basic outline of the city was already built, and the air was very fresh, no rotten ocean smell. If it hadn't been for the impending war, Yimo would have taken Luo Ying and Ning Qingxue around. All the high-level members of Luoyu were there. Yimo was very satisfied with Su Yuehua's efficiency. He felt that Su Yuehua had been no ordinary person before, and now that he gave her a chance, she performed extremely well. Although there were a lot of people helping her, her abilities were unquestionable. Yimo knew that she had an enemy that made her go to Hong Kong from time to time. She rarely had time to leave her position lately. If he had time, he would ask her who the enemy was. Regardless of who it was, since she was the city lord of Luoyu, it couldn't be ignored. Okay, since everyone is here, we'll let Sitter Yuehua start the meeting. Speak as you wish, Yimo said. Yimo knew that whether it was going to war or not, they had to decide today. It wasn't good to drag it on. Yimo said first, according to the message brought back by our negotiation squad, Indonesia has no intentions of apologizing. Philippines are on the same page as them too. They are even mass buying weapons. I think they are threatening us. They are small countries. How dare they threaten us? Just send a fleet to annihilate them, Su Ping said grumpily. Yimo knew that Su Ping was an ancient martial artist and he wasn't good at commanding battles, but he had had to give him that position. Su Ping was his second brother. He would never betray him. As soon as Su Ping said this, Huang Enian said, I support going to war, but our strategy shouldn't just be to send a fleet there. Su Yuehua said, when we first claimed our conditions, the Indonesian officials were very worried. They even said that they would agree if we lowered our demands. However, it's only been a day and their attitude has changed drastically. At the same time, Philippines also joined their side. If we don't react to the outlet incident quickly, perhaps more countries will join their side. So I agree we need to fight, but how we fight is the key issue. Yimo thought about their words. No one had said it, but he knew that there was someone supporting Indonesia from the shadows. Who was it? America? Or was it some other country? The Union stated that we and Indonesia should control our emotions and leave the problem up to negotiation. That we shouldn't start a war so easily, Yu Miaodan said. Funny. We shouldn't start a war so easily? They saying this to us? If we don't do anything, what if they attack us instead? I think that if we're going to fight, we should do Germany's way. Finish them with a lightning war, Guiqi said. That works for other countries, but not Indonesia. They're an island country. We only have 20,000 troops. I think we should gather our power and throw a heavy blow to one target, Sherman said. Su Yuehua nodded, but she didn't say anything and just stared at Yixing. I actually agree with brothers Su and Sherman. Our newest interference machine is now ready for mobile warfare. It's attached to the Luotian carrier ship. If we needed to attack an island, we wouldn't even need to go covertly. We could just throw bombs at them. Yixing looked at Su Yuehua and smiled. When Yixing finished talking, the entire meeting room fell silent. After a while, Huang Enian screamed, Chief Engineer Yi, did you succeed? When they recalled the last war, everyone's blood boiled. It was because they had the most advanced interference machine that they had managed to suppress the Allied army. Yet, most of our bombs are from Russia and Germany. We can build some defense missiles, but we can't mass-produce offensive missiles. We still need some time, and the time we have is very short, Yixing said again. Before anyone said anything, Yixing sneered. If I had some time, we wouldn't even need to send a fleet there to defeat them. I can make a bomb that they won't be able to defend themselves of. Emo believed that Yixing could do it, but they had to fight that war. If Luoyu was harassed by Indonesia and Philippines and they didn't fight back, they would lose the reputation they had built and more countries would do the same. In another 2 years, when Luoyu stabilized, other countries wouldn't even be able to face Luoyu. He nodded. No one can treat Luoyu like this. We must fight Indonesia and Philippines. As for how we fight, I trust that Yixing has other steadier ways, but we're trying to show our dominance this time, so we must do it in the most direct and domineering way. We'll let them know that they can't challenge Luoyu so easily. Let those clowns who support them understand it too. As for how to fight, I agree with Sherman's method. There's only the Indian Ocean between us. We'll take one of their islands first. Then, Emo looked at everyone. Which island should we attack first? Huang Enian smiled. If it's taking over a place, it'll be quite easy. Bali Island is perfect. It's not small, and it's Indonesia's main tourist attraction. It brings Indonesia large amounts of income each year. If we take that place, the Indonesian officials will have to comply. Everyone agreed to this. Okay, in that case, Huang Enian will be the commander for this war. We don't need to wait. Send our ships there immediately. Wait around Bali for the declaration of war. And as soon as we declare war, attack their military facilities. Emo ordered. Su Yuehua added, I agree to the president's decision, but Bali is a global tourist attraction. There are people there on holiday from all over the world. When we start attacking the island, we can't casually deploy missiles or that would cause international problems. So I'd like to know what Commander Huang has to say. Huang Enian smiled. I've long since thought of Bali as a possible point to attack. For one, that would show Luoyu's dominance, and secondly, it would deal a heavy blow to Indonesia. Most importantly, our outlet store there was smashed, and 2 of our workers were killed. Now, Bali has been a victim of terrorism more than once during the past 10 years. Looking at Su Yuehua's expectant eyes, Huang Enian continued. So even if we cause an international dispute, we can say that that was Indonesia collaborating with terrorists to attack Luoyu. We can say that since the Indonesian government hasn't reacted properly, it has clear animosity towards Luoyu. Luoyu's rights have been stepped on, and in Luoyu, justice is the most important thing. Any offenders must pay the price. Of course, we will only attack the military and not the civilians. Emo nodded. Although this reasoning was a bit far-fetched, it was better than nothing. Plus, Luoyu did indeed suffer heavy losses by Indonesia's hands. I believe I might have a good suggestion too, Yu Miaodan said. Although Bali is big, it won't survive long under our force. I suggest that Commander Huang take over the airport and docks first, after which we can send back all the tourists. As for all the touristic facilities, we can destroy them just like they destroyed our store. Yu Miaodan didn't say it out loud, but everyone knew that it wasn't realistic to think they could take over Bali for a long time. Even if Luoyu had the power, the Union wouldn't allow that. Once Indonesia agreed to some form of compensation, Luoyu's army would have to retreat. But if they destroyed all the touristic facilities and sent away all the tourists, then that would be a huge blow to the Indonesian economy. It was an extremely big risk to so much as invade the island of Bali, much less to want to seize it. If Emo wasn't a cultivator, perhaps he wouldn't even be doing it. Emo knew that once most of the power in the world joined together against Luoyu, Luoyu wouldn't be able to stop them. But Emo had his trump cards too. If he really had no other choice, he would use nukes and go around assassinating people. No one would dare to push a country with nukes too much. Although this world had all sorts of rules, people with power still made the final calls. For example, if the US wanted to invade a small country suddenly, they could find 100 reasons to justify themselves. Power was the ultimate deciding factor. Meanwhile, Yiling was with Tang Beiwei. Hearing the truth about everything, Yiling was dazed for some time before looking at Tang Beiwei in disbelief. Beiwei, you mean that your brother's real sister and I'm not? Tang Beiwei nodded and said after a while, in fact, I'm not sure if I'm his real sister either, but he doesn't want to do any blood testing. He said that we're already true sisters to him, and we will be regardless of any tests. I don't want to lose him as my brother, so I didn't insist on the check either. Then that means that I might be his real sister after all? Yiling was pretty worried. But I understand, brother. He doesn't want to lose us two sisters, so when he asks you later, don't disappoint him. He really loves us, Tang Beiwei said as she looked at Yiling. Yiling breathed a sigh of relief. The second day after Yimo came back to Luoyu, Luoyu suddenly declared war on Indonesia and said that all who helped Indonesia were enemies of Luoyu. Unexpectedly though, Luoyu only declared war on Indonesia and actually gave the Philippines a week to pay Luoyu 50 billion Luoyu dollars. Luoyu's actions shocked the world once more. Luoyu was just a newly establishment government. They might have been able to defend against the Union's invasion, but no one believed they could really invade Indonesia. And this time was special too. Indonesia clearly had someone supporting them, yet Luoyu still declared war. Luoyu was basically just a corporation, but it declared war on a country over the death of a few people. This seemed too childish, didn't it? And this was with the Union requesting peaceful means. Politicians all over shook their heads. How could they so easily declare war on a country? Yimo only felt contempt at all this, and he really didn't care. Even if an army 10 times their size came, he still had a bottle of essence chi pills, and with the interference machine, he would be able to at least end the battle in a draw. He might not be a politician, but that didn't mean he didn't have a brain. He had thought of all the consequences already. But what happened next ignited the world. 10 minutes after the declaration of war, news of Luoyu's fleet attacking Bali appeared. Indonesia was worried, and Bali was worried. In fact, Indonesia sunk into chaos. Although they had been buying weapons and acting tough, that was just all an act to gain some bargaining chips. But Luoyu was a mad place and had actually declared war, even starting it as soon as they declared it. Meanwhile, Indonesia's defensive status was just on its regular level. It hadn't believed that Luoyu would truly start a war over such small matters. Luoyu's fleet destroyed Bali's military port without any resistance, only leaving the civilian port intact. And as Indonesia started crazily amassing an army for Bali, Luoyu's missiles were already accurately striking military facilities. Bali's defenses were like a layer of paper in Luoyu's eyes, while its counterattack was rendered useless by the interference machine. The U.S. president slammed the sheets of paper he was holding on the table in front of him. Luoyu was crazy. Indonesia was supported by the U.S., and he had suggested their course of action. Although the previous president had been impeached thanks to Luoyu, allowing him to step up, he didn't have any good impression of Luoyu. He also thought of Luoyu as having stolen America's land and business. A large half of the U.S.'s gold storage being might also be due to Luoyu. Now that he was president, he was confident that he could strangle Luoyu dead with some time. They hadn't started to fight yet, but letters of help were being sent like crazy. The president felt helpless. Indonesia was too useless. Even if Luoyu declared war, as long as they could stall Luoyu for 2 days, they would lose. Luoyu didn't have the power and storage to hold a long-term war. If they were stalled, the World Union Army wouldn't take long to arrive to the Indian Ocean. But looking at the letters, the president knew his idea wasn't plausible, and Luoyu seemed to know this. Hence, they had declared war now and began to fight. Huang Enian led Luoyu's fleet into the Indian Ocean like no one was there. The U.S. wanted to fight back immediately, but they couldn't. Also, even if they did, they had to wait for the approval of the Union. Although Luoyu's declaration of war wasn't in accordance with the Code of Peace, they had their reasons, despite them being very ridiculous. How could the U.S. justify sending an army? They would need a few days to find an excuse, and in a few days' time, Bali would have been devoured by Luoyu already. The moment Luoyu started the war, the U.S. president also urged the Union to hurry up. He knew that, for all sorts of reasons, the U.S. also had to join the war. Because if Luoyu really took over Bali Island, then most of the countries in Southeast Asia would be under the range of Luoyu's fleet's cannons. If that was the case, with Luoyu's dim-witted brains, they might really attack other countries and even cause World War III. The outcomes might not be that serious, but who knew if Luoyu would end up trying to control the Indian Ocean? If the Southeast Asian Alliance intervened, then perhaps Luoyu would take the Strait of Malacca. It was a route connecting the Indian Ocean to the Pacific. Many of the U.S. interests were there. The U.S. had to control that area. If it went into the hands of Southeast Asian countries, the U.S. could still control it and plan for the future. However, if it fell into Luo Yu's hands, it would be impossible for them to get it back. If Luo Yu controlled that area, it would only increase Luo Yu's development. How could the U.S. let that happen? Its tactical use was also very important to the U.S. If the U.S. controlled the Strait of Malacca, then, first, they could force the Russian Navy to give up going back to their base in the North Vietnam Bay. Second, the Strait of Malacca was near China. It was China's southern gate and an important cruise line for energy. Guarding this region of the sea would allow them to stop China's growth whenever they wanted. Third, if the U.S. Army was stationed there, they could stop the Luo Yu army from expanding to India or the Pacific. What the U.S. president feared the most was that Luo Yu would give over the control of the strait to China once they had it. If China got the strait, then the president didn't dare to keep thinking. But Luo Yu wasn't Iraq. They were countless times stronger than Iraq. While the Union was holding an urgent meeting, Luo Yu's fleet took over Bali Island easily. The Indonesian fleet that tried to stop Luo Yu didn't even manage to get near them. There were planes flying around everywhere, but Indonesia couldn't stop the planes from dropping bombs. Almost every 2 bombs, a ship sank. Looking at the old ships sinking, Huang Enian felt very satisfied. He didn't need those broken ships. YMO had already taken all of Indonesia's high-quality ships in their previous fight. It was an uneven battle. Luo Yu had it better in terms of quality and quantity. Indonesia barely had air force power. After fighting the battle, Huang Enian realized how overpowered Yixing was. If Yixing would have really been working for Northern Sand nonstop, he was sure that World War III would be about to start. The U.S. was worried that Luo Yu would start World War III, but Huang Enian knew that Luo Yu wouldn't do that. It was Northern Sand who would. Despite the Indonesian fleet coming with an aggressive temperament, Huang Enian could see they couldn't even aim properly. Of course, this was all due to the interference machine. The battle started quickly and also ended quickly. Under Huang Enian's lead, Luo Yu's fleet sunk all sorts of ships of different calibers. They had captured 2 big ships, 2 guard ships and 3 light ships, as well as 5,000 soldiers. They were all taken back to Luo Yu to help with construction. The whole battle didn't even last an hour. Most of the time was spent accepting surrenders. The strongest fleet in Southeast Asia couldn't even resist against Luo Yu's attacks. After this battle, Indonesia wouldn't be able to recover from the losses for at least a few decades. The most ironic thing was that their ships didn't even get a chance to dock on the bay. This was also partially due to Huang Enian's experience in maritime warfare. Without the obstacle of the Indonesian Navy, Luo Yu's fleet quickly destroyed all the military facilities on Bali and boarded the island. Just as Yu Miaodan suggested, Huang Enian took over the airport first. Afterwards, he sent back all the tourists and he killed the Indonesian agents hidden amongst them. Luo Yu's power and decisiveness shook the entire Southeast Asia. Not even the Indonesian Navy could resist Luo Yu's power. After that, none of the southeastern countries wanted to support Indonesia. The moment Luo Yu declared war, the Union immediately reproached Luo Yu and held a special meeting. But the meeting hadn't finished yet when news of Luo Yu winning the war and taking over Bali got spread. Luo Yu had sent away the tourists, and they acted like they were going to attack the Java island. Indonesia was really worried now. Java was different from Bali. This was where the capital of Indonesia was at. It was the political, economical, and cultural center of Indonesia. Moreover, it was also the gate to the Indian Ocean and Pacific Ocean. If Java was taken, Indonesia would be like choking the country. But now, all the maritime power was Luo Yu's and the other countries in Southeast Asia were retreating their fleets. They didn't dare intervene in this at all. This time, not only the U.S. was angry, but many other members of the Union were also siding with the U.S. Taking over Bali was barely acceptable, but invading Java would be breaking world peace. Does Luo Yu want to use Southeast Asia as their bathtub? Or do they want to trample on world peace and start World War III? They are completely squashing world peace, human rights, and the development of the world. The U.S. representative, Peter, stood up and commented in anger. Peter had been the consultant of the previous U.S. president, and after the change in power, not only did he not lose his status, he instead became the U.S. representative. Jipan's face looked bad, and he glanced at Peter. Peter was acting as though he wasn't doing his job as head secretary. Jipan knew that Peter wanted to use the Union to have the whole world attack Luoyu. Although he detested Luoyu's arrogance, the city lord of Luoyu was a madman. Just when everyone thought he wouldn't start war, he did. And by the time the Union held a meeting, he had already destroyed 90% of Indonesia's naval power. They were so fast that Jipan wondered if Luoyu would have already taken over Java by the time the meeting ended. Despite knowing that that might be possible, Jipan still couldn't request the Union to have the whole world declare war on Luoyu. He wasn't insane like Luoyu. Luoyu had nukes now, so if they really took desperate measures against Luoyu, then if Luoyu started throwing around nukes everywhere, it wouldn't be World War III, it would be Armageddon. So he needed to deal with this appropriately and make Luoyu realize that they couldn't just casually use their nuclear power to threaten people. Peter's words started up a debate. Although most people supported attacking Luoyu, rarely anyone dared say it. They understood Luoyu's power. Luoyu had a very accurate intercontinental missile guidance system, as well as a very powerful interference machine. And that wasn't the most important thing. The most important thing was that they could use those two technologies to launch their nukes too. If Luoyu knew that someone had agreed to attacking Luoyu and the first nuke Luoyu sent out was against them, they would be done for. Most countries would at most vote yes, but none would stand up and agree out loud. If they did, Luoyu would know for sure because Luoyu was also a part of the international community now and had a representative present. But even though the US had said that much, Luoyu's representative only smiled and didn't say anything. Just looking at this, everyone knew that Luoyu didn't even have a foreign affairs minister. Luoyu's representative had been decided upon after the first battle, and it was only under the strong request of the Union that Luoyu joined the Union and sent Mo Hai as its representative. Mo Hai had been in the business scene for many years and knew Mo since way back. Even when he didn't talk, that didn't mean he was dumb. He knew that Luoyu was being a bully right now, so he had to keep a low profile and act dumb. He had to make everyone know that Luoyu really didn't have anyone proper for his job. Mr. Mo, Luoyu is ignoring world peace and forcibly invading other countries. I really want to know why Luoyu, who has always proclaimed itself an advocate of peace, would do such a thing? I don't understand. So could Mr. Mo, being the representative for Luoyu, provide us with an explanation for this? Jipan just had to ask. Mo Hai nodded and got up. Luoyu has always been peace-loving. I've said that many times here. As for the reason for the war, I'm sure everyone knows. But in order to give everyone here a satisfying answer, may I leave for a while to contact my city lord and then answer your question, Mr. Jipan? Of course, Mr. Mo. Do as you please, Jipan agreed. Mo Hai went to the resting area, ordered a coffee and lit up a cigarette. Other than that, he didn't do anything, making the person watching him very annoyed. Meanwhile, the war was still going on. There was just a mountain and a strait between Bali and Java. After Luoyu took over Bali, their naval power gathered at that strait. By then, another carrier had led another fleet there from the Indian Ocean. They were clearly surrounding the island of Java. At that moment, the meeting was still going on, and still no decision had been made. Indonesia was totally worried. By the time a solution appeared, who knew what state Java would be in? The US would be too slow to rely on, and they couldn't rely on the Southeast Asian alliance either. The only way to stop Luoyu was to negotiate with them again. Indonesia, who had been very cocky on the negotiation table before, successfully begged Luoyu for a second negotiation. It was held on a Luoyu ship. Participating in the meeting were Yu Miaodong, Luo Fei, and a few assistants on Luoyu's side, and Dino and a few negotiation masters on the Indonesian side. Looking at them, Yu Miaodong sneered and didn't even sit down. She just said, I have orders that this must end in 10 minutes. 10 minutes later, we will launch a full-scale attack. I'll say it once again. Luoyu loves peace, but those who provoke us should be prepared to face the consequences. Dino looked dazedly at Yu Miaodong and thought, 10 minutes, what could we negotiate during that time? Dino thought that they could stall Luoyu with negotiations and wait for the arrival of the Union's army, but his plan was shattered by the 10-minute time limit. 1 minute has already gone by, Yu Miaodan said casually. Dino knew that Luoyu must have seen through their plans and wouldn't give them any chances. If Luoyu was really set on attacking Java, however, they wouldn't have come over to negotiate. As though seeing what Dino was thinking, Yu Miaodan smiled. We love peace, remember? See, you requested for a negotiation, and we came, Dino said in anger. Since your side loves peace so much, then you should sit down and negotiate with us, and not threaten us with a 10-minute time limit. I've never heard of a negotiation that can be completed in 10 minutes. Yu Miaodan glanced at Dino and sighed. Aish, I really meant well for you with the 10-minute time limit. Okay, in that case, we can decide to negotiate with you for 1 day. Yes, 1 day should be enough. Dino looked at Yu Miaodan in surprise and joy. He didn't think they would accept so easily. He was too surprised. With a few hours extra, the Union should be able to react. They wouldn't even need a day. Dino smiled. We thank Luoyu for its genuine attitude. Excuse my ill-mannered words before. Please have a seat. Yu Miaodan smiled and sat down. Dino coughed and drank a cup of tea before saying slowly, Ms. Yu, to be honest, I hope for your side's retreat. As for the Luoyu outlet incident, we express our deepest regrets. And of course Dino suddenly stopped when a few loud explosions were audible. He got up subconsciously, and a bad feeling rose up from the bottom of his heart. He looked at Yu Miaodan and asked desperately, Ms. Yu, what was that sound? Then, there were a few more explosions. Yu Miaodan sipped some tea slowly. That's our navy attacking Java. Dino looked at Yu Miaodan with a pale face. An explosion sounded again, and he roared, We're in the middle of negotiating. How can you attack Java? Yu Miaodan said coldly, What does us negotiating have got to do with attacking Java? You wanted a negotiation, and so we gave you one. Do you also want to control our army and tell us when to stop now? Dino finally understood why that 10-minute time limit was her meaning well for them. He was shaking in anger and pointed at Yu Miaodan. You can't do this. The fire outside seemed to be getting more and more concentrated. Dino looked at Yu Miaodan and said very carefully, I agree to 10 minutes negotiation. Please, give us 10 minutes time and stop the attack. Yu Miaodan smiled. It'd be fine even if you asked for 100 minutes. But I can't command the navy. Politics and the military are separated issues. My city lord only looks at my report, not my suggestions. Mr. Dino, if you really want a quiet and peaceful outside, it's best to settle the negotiations as soon as possible. Dino's face was green, but before he could reply, his assistant gave the phone to him. After the call ended, Dino's expression had gotten calm again. He sat down and said to Yu Miaodan, Chief Yu, we're willing to give Luoyu as compensation 70 billion Luoyu dollars. In exchange, your side must stop the invasion immediately and retreat. Yu Miaodan said slowly. It had been before, that compensation amount would have been just fine, we would have gladly accepted it. However, after this war, our losses are immeasurable. Dino was so angry that he didn't even want to sit down. He said rapidly, How much do you guys want? Just tell me. Dino wanted to cry. It was no negotiation. They were pointing a gun at his face and robbing him. Luoyu had lost some missiles at most, but Indonesia's losses that were truly immeasurable. Yu Miaodan scrolled through the files in front of her and said after a while, Originally, the city lord asked for 300 billion Luoyu dollars. Dino was almost paralyzed after hearing that. 300 billion Luoyu dollars. It was half of the nation's GDP. But Yu Miaodan continued, However, the city lord wishes to maintain peace, so he has decided to reduce it to 100 billion. Dino breathed at ease. 100 billion was still acceptable. He wiped the sweat off his head, but Yu Miaodan hadn't finished. Still, Luoyu needs a place to stay in the Sunda Strait, so we will be renting the Jason Giambi Island for 99 years. No, that's impossible. Dino rejected it without thinking. The Jason Giambi Island was the passage to the Sunda Strait. If it got rent, what about the Sunda Strait Bridge they had been working on these years? Moreover, the Sunda Strait was one of the U.S. stations. It was the American 7th Fleet main passage into the Indian Ocean from the Pacific Ocean. If Indonesia agreed to that, the U.S. wouldn't let it be. Miaodon sneered. Of course. We will give Bali Island back and we won't interfere with the bridge building. Dino sneered. They had to give Bali back no matter what. Even if he didn't ask for it, other countries would intervene in this matter. Suddenly, he realized that if Luoyu took over Xianxia Island, then the U.S. would have to face a problem when entering the Indian Ocean. That way, the conflict would be just between Luoyu and the U.S. Indonesia could get out of that issue. Why should they help the U.S.? Furthermore, that island wasn't a big loss to Indonesia. If the U.S. and Luoyu fought, Indonesia could just sit back and reap the benefits. Thinking about this, Dino had a bleak smile. That island would be taken back by the U.S. sooner or later. Why would Indonesia help the U.S.? If it hadn't been for them, Indonesia wouldn't have suffered such losses. They would have only had to pay 70 billion Luoyu dollars. But now, it was 100 billion and the damage on Bali was immeasurable. Dino went outside and made a quick call. Then, he ran back in and said, "Okay, we agree. Let's write the agreement now." Miaodon pushed the files over to Dino and said, "No need. Luoyu has already signed. We're just waiting for your signature." Dino looked at the ready-printed files and suddenly felt like he had walked into a trap. That feeling wasn't good. When Mo Hai walked into the meeting room, it was near its end. It seemed that the union had made a decision while he was away. When Mo Hai came in, Jipan acted as though he didn't see him. It was obvious that he didn't care about Mo Hai's opinion anymore. But for the first time, Mo Hai requested to talk. Many people thought that he would be speaking meaningless garbage, but Mo Hai said, "Luoyu puts international peace as top priority. Considering that peace is hard to obtain and considering the will of the Union, Luoyu has now reached an agreement with Indonesia. We will retreat from Bali and not attack Java. Perhaps no one believes us, but the moment I entered this room the army had already started retreating." What? The news shocked everyone. They had just reached a consensus to attack Luoyu in order to keep world peace. But Luoyu was retreating now. Many country delegates felt at ease. Luoyu retreating meant that they hadn't really invaded Indonesia and that they were just putting up a show for the Indonesians. After all, they had killed Luoyu people and then didn't want to pay compensation. I suggest to immediately suspend our previous decision about Luoyu. Luoyu is retreating, we can't attack them anymore. After all, Indonesia started the problem. If we still attack Luoyu now, it would be going against keeping world peace. Russia was the first to talk. Peter immediately wanted to get up and rebuke this idea, but he knew that it would be inappropriate at a time like this. No one would agree. Japan could rest assured. He was the person who didn't want the war the most. At that moment, the U.S. president had received the contents of Luoyu and Indonesia's agreement. He didn't care about how much Indonesia was compensating Luoyu, but what infuriated him was that Indonesia had actually rented Sunda Strait to Luoyu. With this, Luoyu could control the U.S. every move. He couldn't allow this to happen, but the island belonged to Indonesia. If they wanted to rent it, the U.S. couldn't intervene. He would bet that the reason Luoyu had asked for the island was to be able to fight the U.S. The Indonesian government was garbage. The president wanted to roar. He had no other means to stop it. He even suspected that Luoyu had already thought of the outcome before they started the invasion. The U.S. had finally found an opportunity to attack Luoyu, but it ended before it even begun. If Luoyu really had calculated all this, they were a political enemy that couldn't be underestimated. They were masters in schemes and shenanigans. Thinking about this, the U.S. still had another breakthrough point: the Philippines. However, not long after that, his assistant gave him news that Luoyu and the Philippines had also reached a consensus. The Philippines had asked for peace and resolution after Luoyu took over Bali. Seeing that the Philippines had come to them first, Luoyu reduced the compensation amount to 30 billion Luoyu dollars. Fuck! The president swore and smashed the files on the ground. He felt like he was failure as a president. Right this moment, the president believed that the person who had orchestrated the plan must have the experience of a bunch of lifetimes. Otherwise, how did he manage to calculate the timing and everything else so precisely? Announce right away that we're holding a meeting at the White House. The president was worried. He felt like he was a step behind Luo Yu every single time. Yu Miaodong admired Yi Mo's means too much. She finally understood what war was now. It wasn't the final goal, but the means to serve a purpose. They had just provided a simple war plan, yet Yi Mo had calculated everything to the minute. At the same time, Yi Mo was surprised at the Meng family's fortune-telling art's power. When he combined it with the battle plan he had made, many things fit into place, allowing him to make the perfect plan. The only problem was Bali Island, but now that they retreated, they no longer had to worry. Just when Yi Mo was about to leave and go to the welcoming ceremony for the soldiers, Su Yuehua knocked on the door desperately. Yi Mo immediately knew that something was bad when he saw Su Yuehua's face. He immediately asked, "Sister Yuehua, what happened?" Su Yuehua calmed down upon seeing Yi Mo's calm face. She had been worrying a lot, though. Before, she was worrying about the US and those other countries who wanted Luo Yu's wealth, not about Indonesia. If they used Indonesia as an excuse to attack Luo Yu, then Luo Yu would be really facing hardship. That army wouldn't be a 100,000 men army. It would be a 1 million men army. And the Union had too many ways to deal with Luo Yu. They didn't even need to send an army. All they had to do was lock down Luo Yu geographically and Luo Yu would go bankrupt. Luo Yu was a city completely reliant on import. Something happened on Bali, Su Yuehua replied. Yi Mo thought, this Meng family fortune-telling art is powerful indeed. Something really did happen on Bali. Yi Mo nodded. Have we retreated out of Bali already? Yes, our armies left an hour ago, but 5 tourists have gone missing from our military camp, Su Yuehua replied. Yi Mo frowned and said quickly, even if they did, that shouldn't be too much of a problem, right? Yi Mo knew that this would reduce Luo Yu's popularity and increase the enmity of other countries. But Yi Mo had already warned Huang Inian about it, so the first thing they did when they took over Bali was to protect the tourists properly and send them to the airport. This was to prevent Indonesians from causing chaos and killing people while blaming it on Luo Yu. Su Yuehua said worriedly, people have released clips of these 5 tourists going into Luo Yu's military camp. Among them are 3 women, 2 of which are very important people. Yi Mo felt like that wasn't normal. It was normal for people to go missing in war, but for them to happen to have been filmed going into Luo Yu's military camp before disappearing, that wasn't normal. Su Yuehua said, 2 of the 5 are American, 2 are British and 1 is Indian. The most troublesome are the 2 British women. They're a mother and daughter pair, more precisely the wife and daughter of the late Marquis Rod. After Marquis Rod died, his wife and daughter worked very hard as philanthropists and are deeply loved by the British people. They were touring in Bali when the war started and went missing in Luo Yu's military site. Yi Mo realized that they must have been set up. How could there be such a coincidence? Has the news gotten online? Yi Mo asked. Su Yuehua nodded. Currently, the British citizens are very angry and ask Luo Yu for an explanation. Although the US and India haven't made any announcements, I'm sure they will soon. Yi Mo realized that this had probably been done by the US. If Luo Yu could start war with Indonesia for a few employees, then the British would have all the more of a reason to start a war when members of their nobility went missing. And if England wanted to attack Luo Yu, the US would help them for sure. If India joined them too, then Luo Yu would be facing enemies from 3 sides. How is Commander Huang dealing with that now? Yi Mo asked. He ordered Liang Di to take a squadron of soldiers, search the campsite and search for clues. Although he wanted to send the army back, I figured that that wouldn't be appropriate, so I stopped him, Su Yuehua answered. Yi Mo nodded. You did well. Not only should Commander Huang retreat, but so must Liang Di. I will deal with this myself. When our army returns, install the maximum defensive state until I come back. If Huang Inian brought the army back to Bali, that would be falling for their scheme. Luo Yu would lose its credibility, and Huang Inian wouldn't be able to find any clues anyway. Yi Mo was sure that making Huang Inian return to Bali was one of their goals, but if that didn't happen, Then their second goal was probably to have England, US, and India start a war with Luo Yu with a good reason. Emo knew that only he could deal with this problem. As long as those 5 weren't dead, he would find them. And Emo believed that they wouldn't kill the 5 so easily. Yes, Su Yuehua replied. Hold on. Emo stopped her again and said, these 5 tourists can't have disappeared magically, so check the soldiers that were stationed there at the time of the 5's disappearance as well as the soldiers higher-ups. Su Yuehua was shook. It's not like she hadn't thought about checking them, but she subconsciously didn't want to. But since this had happened, it meant that there had to be traitors somewhere. She wondered if Huang Enian had realized that. No matter who it is, if you find him, lock him up immediately and wait until I come back. Remember to send me the results immediately, Emo said. As soon as Su Yuehua left, Luo Ying and Ning Qingxue appeared together. Hearing that Emo was going out, Ning Qingxue helped Emo tidy his clothes and said, if I had known this earlier, I wouldn't have asked you to build a city. I didn't think it would give you this much trouble. Emo held Luo Ying's and Ning Qingshue's hands and said, it's not that hard, and I'm doing this for our future. I want everyone in Luo Yu to be able to live peacefully and happily. I want to be able to enjoy walking in the city and cultivate here in peace. Luo Ying grabbed Emo's hand in satisfaction and didn't talk. Emo kissed the two and said, wait for me. When I come back, we will have our wedding. The White House was holding an urgent meeting when they suddenly received news that 5 tourists had disappeared from Luo Yu's military camp, and Luo Yu had only retreated after they disappeared. Luo Yu's army obviously couldn't distance itself from this. The US president felt like laughing. With his wits, of course he knew that this had happened due to someone scheming against Luo Yu. He knew that after this happened, the US would be the first Luo Yu would suspect, but he didn't care anymore. The US would have loved to have done it, but someone else just did it for them. No matter why someone had done it, he liked it a lot, because he had an excuse to do something now. Pause the meeting, I need to call the British Prime Minister, the US president said. Although Bali had been a battlefield, its tourist attractions hadn't gotten damaged significantly as Luo Yu's army has arrived and left in no time. When Luo Yu's army attacked Bali, they mainly took over the military facilities, the main tourist attractions and transport routes. So the place Luo Yu's army had stayed at was close to the Bai Strait, which was also very close to the airport. Luo Yu's army had planned it strategically so that they could fly or leave from there. When Emo came to this place, he sighed. Everything there had been wiped away. He could understand it. How could the army allow large amounts of tall buildings to still stand there? Although there were only about 10,000 people that participated in Bali's occupation, the base they stayed at was very big. So big that his spirit sense couldn't cover it completely. At this moment, Emo saw Liang Di take his people and go to a military ship placed in a simple dock. Emo didn't go meet them. He could tell just by looking that they hadn't found out anything. It was better if they left early. Otherwise, as long as Luo Yu's army was still in Bali, there would be more room for people to doubt their intentions. Luo Yu had already gotten the most out of the war. If they didn't leave at the right time, it might have negative repercussions. After Liang Di and the rest left, Emo started to inspect the base. There were 2 ways to access the base. One was from the Bai Strait, and the other one was from the attack route Luo Yu had used to invade Bali. Emo took note that most of the tourist attractions surrounding the attack route had been destroyed by the army. Some had been trampled over by tanks and armored vehicles. Looking at this, Emo was confused. How could have the 5 tourists gotten into Luo Yu's base and been recorded? It was impossible to get in through the Bai Strait, so the only other possibility was from the road occupied by Luo Yu's army. But that route was also impossible. Even a dog would be seen by the guards, much less 5 people. Emo walked to the base's gate and stood there for a long time. The 2 sides of the road were also very empty. There was nothing that could block their vision. A bit further down there was a barbed wire fence. Emo searched the fences nearby with his spirit sense and soon found something different. He walked to this part of the fence. There were obvious signs of someone having cut through it, but then it had been twisted back together. The place wasn't far from the main door and it was a blind spot. Emo sighed. Although Luoyu was one of the most developed countries in the world in some fields, and thanks to this Luoyu's military power had increased a lot too, there were still differences between them and world-class military powers. If it had been the US or some other country's elite force, they wouldn't have let someone cut open the wire under their eyes, even if there was a traitor. Emo wanted to reopen the wire and investigate from there, but he could hear cars coming. It was probably the Indonesian army. As soon as they came, they cut the wires into pieces and threw them on a big truck. His guess was right. If he had come a little later, he wouldn't have been able to see that. They obviously had come to destroy the evidence. It was good as long as he could find someone to ask about it. Emo decided not to follow the guy immediately. He marked him with a spirit sense mark instead. He kept searching around nearby. He believed that the Indonesian government hadn't planned it. If they could think of such a plan when they were in such dire situation, they wouldn't have fought so poorly. Emo continued walking through the area where the wire had been cut. He walked very slowly and seeped his spirit sense into the ground. There was nowhere to hide on the surface, so the only possible place to hide was underground. Soon Emo stopped. He hadn't found anything after walking for a few hundred meters. The person he marked had also stopped moving, which meant that he arrived at his destination. Emo decided to go check who was behind this man, who had ordered him to remove all the wires. Emo soon got to where he had stopped, but when he saw the guy, he realized why he was no longer moving. The man was now dead. Emo immediately saw that he had been bitten by a snake, a very poisonous one. Such an sudden and unexpected death. Emo sighed. Since the man was dead, the mastermind could be sure that other people wouldn't be able to link the death to him. If he hadn't come there, it would have just been labeled as an accident. Even though the lead was gone, Emo was still going to find someone to ask. Just when he was about to do so, his phone started vibrating. It was Su Yuehua. The people on duty that day had all gone missing except for 2 bodies. Give me the details of the original installations of the base and facilities. I want a map as precise as possible, Emo immediately said. Since the 5 tourists had disappeared in the base, then it meant that the problem was inside of it and it must be underground. Su Yuehua did as told quickly. Not long after Emo received the map of the original base. With the map, Emo just realized that the place had been a commercial district near the airport. It had been covered, but Emo's spirit sense could still pierce more than 10 meters into the ground. He was sure that even if there were underground rooms, he could find them within 10 meters or so. Emo walked through the entire street, but he still didn't find anything. He started to walk back in disappointment, still without any results. Emo was sure that there was an underground room somewhere because 5 people couldn't have just disappeared for no reason after entering the base. Otherwise, they would have been caught 100% sure if they went into the base. Caught 100% sure? Emo thought carefully about this and went back to the door. Huang Enian had only known about the 5 missing tourists after news got online. If they had managed to go deep into the base without Huang Enian knowing, then he was too useless. Emo walked to the guard station. It had originally been a cafe. He reached his spirit sense down and indeed, he found an underground room. He finally understood. They had been brought there, taken into the guard tower and disappeared. He felt this opponent was very strong and was a step ahead of Luoyu. If the missing guard wasn't a traitor, he must have been killed. Emo dug and pulled an iron board until it opened. The putrid smell of the sea came in, but it dissipated quickly as though it came out of nowhere. Emo reached his spirit sense down. It was a storage room. Other than some coffee beans, there was nothing else. But he knew that since the 5 tourists had disappeared there must be a hidden mechanisms. The floor was made of granite stone and there was just earth under it. But Emo could see with his spirit sense that the earth near the door was 1 meter thick. And under this meter-thick earth layer there was an underground tunnel. The tunnel was very well hidden and near the door. The earth around it was the same as there. The place was very hard to find. In order to find the switch to open the tunnel, Emo spent almost half an hour. Eventually, he pressed the trigger. Rumble, a dark passage appeared before him with the smell of the ocean wind. No wonder there had briefly been the smell of the ocean before then disappearing. Emo couldn't see the end of the tunnel even with his spirit sense. But that didn't matter much. He immediately proceeded rapidly through the tunnel after entering it, all the while keeping his spirit sense activated. Soon Emo realized that this tunnel definitely hadn't been dug out in a short time. It must have been at least a few months since it was dug out. Who would know to dig a tunnel there a few months beforehand? What did they want to do? Did these people foresee that Luo Yu was going to build a military camp there, so they dug a tunnel? That was impossible. The tunnel got more and more slanted the further Emo went in, and water started seeping out seawater. The tunnel was connected to the sea ahead. Emo stopped at the place with a lot of water and found that the ground seemed odd. There was a very strange entrance there. Suddenly, 2 black men crawled up from it. Emo moved aside, and after the 2 left the entrance, they quickly ran along the way Emo came from, as though they had left something behind. At that moment, Emo realized that not only the entrance was slanted down, but the tunnel kept slanting down even further. A few hundred meters later, Yemo's spirit sense noticed a nuclear submarine. This door was closed at the moment. A nuclear submarine was hiding under Bali, and it had cheated Luo Yu's radar? Alarm bells immediately went off in Yemo's mind. Although Luo Yu's radar wasn't the most advanced in the world, how could a nuclear submarine be right under Luo Yu's fleet and not be caught? This was too absurd. What if they suddenly attacked? Did the sub belong to the US? Emo doubted it because if the US's radar avoidance technology was this powerful, how could they lose everything in the last war? He had to tell Yixing about it immediately. Only Yixing could think of a way to deal with it. So this tunnel had been made in order to bring the people there to the nuclear submarine. And after the people entered the submarine, the tunnel could contract. Such an intricate design. The person who could think of this was no lesser than Yixing. Since the submarine was there, the 5 missing people should be there too. Yemo's first thought was to rescue the people in the submarine because if he didn't, the US would use this matter as an excuse to start war. But Yemo stopped in his steps. Those 2 men didn't walk back to the storage room and instead, they stopped halfway. When one man pressed a remote controller, another tunnel appeared out of the stone wall, leading to a room. Yemo cursed. These people were too careful. If he didn't have his invisibility and without the right timing, he wouldn't even be able to find such things. There were 5 people inside the room, 3 of which female and 2 male. Emo realized that they were the missing tourists. Emo no longer had any intentions of going down to the submarine as he needed to save them first. The submarine was important and he might find the answers he needed on it, though, so he didn't want to startle anyone just yet. Emo marked the tunnel which led to the submarine and quickly followed the 2 men into the room. After Emo went in, the 2 black men said something to the 5 captives, and 3 of them started trying to persuade the mother and daughter pair. Then, the 5 started arguing. Emo felt like that wasn't normal and started filming. After a while, the 2 black men walked out, but they didn't close the door. The argument was getting more and more heated until one man walked to the mother and slapped her. Then, the man said something to the other man and woman and left the room with them. He closed the door. Now, there was just the British mother and daughter pair there. They looked more like sisters, though, and their age difference didn't seem to be big. Emo shook his head. He had decided to learn some other languages when he had the time. It wouldn't be hard for him anyways, and there was no reason for him to keep not understanding anything each time. After the 5 people left and headed to the tunnel to the submarine, Emo opened the door and walked in. From what had just happened, it seemed the other 3 had been persuaded to join the 2 black men. Anyway, even if they weren't together anymore, Emo didn't need to take those others away. To Emo, he only needed to save the mother and daughter. As long as Luo Yu's danger passed, he could focus on dealing with that submarine. The 2 looked at Emo in confusion. Emo saw this and said, "I came to save you. If you can't understand me, it doesn't matter, but I can take you away." "You're Chinese?" the younger girl suddenly asked in Chinese. Although Emo could barely understand her, Emo rejoiced and said immediately, "I came from Luo Yu, because a British mother and daughter pair went missing, and everyone thought it was Luo Yu's doing. Hence, I wanted to save them. I'd like to ask, are you that pair?" Yes, I'm Annie, and this is my mother Kaya. We were tricked here, and we know those people, but Annie didn't know how to express what she wanted to say. Emo wanted to send the two away and then follow the submarine. He could leave Su Yuehua to deal with them. Just when Emo brought the two out, two more people came into the tunnel. Emo's spirit sense noticed them, so he grabbed the two and darted back into the storage room. Annie subconsciously wanted to scream, but she couldn't make a sound. Just when she was scared, Emo said, "Don't worry, you two walk too slow, so I had to carry you." Annie understood now and said with embarrassment, "Sorry, what is your name?" Emo didn't have the mood to chat with them. He needed to take the two away, and in order for the people to not suspect something, he needed to make it seem as if the two had escaped by themselves. When Emo let the two go, Kaya suddenly pinched Emo's arm and said something before giving Emo a kiss on the face. Seeing this, Annie laughed and also kissed Emo, saying, "You're really strong. My mother says you haven't told us your name yet." "I'm Emo." Then Emo quickly pulled the two up. Kaya's chest was the biggest Emo had ever seen, but he didn't feel anything, as his heart was filled with Luoying and Ning Qingxue. But Emo wasn't dumb. When Kaya hugged him, she was flirty, which made Emo realize that she seemed to have some ulterior motives of her own. Seeing that Kaya was going to say something, Emo quickly said, "We need to leave here quick. The people behind are chasing up." Due to Kaya's behavior, Emo didn't continue carrying the two, so they ended up slowing down. By the time Emo pushed up that metal board and the storage room made a loud rumble, Emo already knew that those people had caught up. He didn't expect that they would be so fast, though. Just when Emo pulled the two out of the tunnel, the sound of desperate footsteps appeared very close. When the three were less than 10 meters from the guard post, two more people came out of the tunnel. Just when the two women were worried that it was over, Emo pulled them behind an old oil barrel. The barrel was so small that even a kid wouldn't be able to hide there without being caught, though. So when Annie and Kaya saw this, they almost had a panic attack. Kaya subconsciously wanted to talk, but Emo immediately covered her mouth. Kaya looked in shock as their two followers looked around but didn't keep their eyes on them. Could they not see them from that position? Kaya was confused. Emo knew that she probably wouldn't say anything anymore and was about to put his hand down, when a wet thing licked the center of his palm. Emo frowned at Kaya's behavior. There was something wrong with this woman. This was the second time, and he didn't think he was attractive enough for this widow to be jumping on him immediately. Moreover, he had heard from Su Yuehua that Rod's wife was pretty, sure, but also very loyal and traditional. Ever since her husband died, she had been doing a lot of charity with her daughter. Her life was very moral. How could she be like this? Emo wasn't planning on checking Kaya, but her actions did make Emo doubt her. He started checking Kaya with his spirit sense. And soon, Emo found some extremely small traces of energy. It was like the energy of the mutants. Using the level system Su Yuehua told her about, Emo determined that she was a level 1 mutant at most. But Emo couldn't tell what mutant powers she had. Emo checked Annie, and Annie was just an ordinary girl. Emo didn't keep checking her afterwards, as even if he gave her to Luoyu, a level 1 mutant wouldn't be able to do anything. Two white men came out of the tunnel, and when they actually didn't find any signs of Kaya and Annie, their faces changed drastically, and they ran out the door while calling someone. Seeing this, Emo called Su Yuehua to tell her that he found the two and told her to arrange someone to pick them up. When Su Yuehua received Emo's call, she was very shocked. How long had Emo left Luoyu? Yet he had already found them. What's more, they were at the military base. Even a plane couldn't get there that fast, right? This wasn't the first time she had seen Emo's amazing means, though, and in her heart, Emo could do anything. Su Yuehua soon told Emo that Yu Miaodan was still near Bai Strait and had met up with Liang Jun's group. She told Emo to wait about half an hour in the base and then there would be a helicopter to pick them up. Emo wanted it to be as fast as possible to prevent the nuclear submarine from leaving the range of his spirit sense. Meanwhile, Annie was very shocked. She didn't know why they weren't found even though they hid at such an obvious spot. "Mr. Yi, thank you for saving us, but I would really like to know how those two didn't see us when they looked over?" Can this small barrel really block their vision? Annie asked. Emo smiled. Of course he wouldn't tell them that he had used invisibility. So instead he replied, this was a blind spot to them, and since they were so worried, that caused their visual blind spot to be even broader. This was bullshit, of course. Time flew by fast, and by the time the helicopter arrived, the two men had rushed back into the tunnel. Perhaps they realized that they wouldn't be able to find the two escapees anymore. Seeing this, Emo took Annie and Kaya out. At the same time, the helicopter landed at the original base. Yu Miaodong and Luo Fei came down with two Luo Yu special ops. Seeing Emo bring the two, Yu Miaodong rejoiced. Although it had only been 2 hours, Luo Yu already got news that the English Prime Minister asked Luo Yu for an explanation and that he was on a plane to the US. The Indian Minister of Foreign Affairs was also heading to the US. If Luo Yu didn't deal with this well, there would be serious repercussions, and it might cause another war. Even without war, the compensation they would ask for would be quite hefty. Before Annie could say anything, Emo signaled the two soldiers to take them up. He needed to tell Yu Miaodong something. Seeing that Emo didn't come up with her, Kaya suddenly walked over and hugged Emo, saying softly, Dear Yi, can you come along with us? Without you I feel unsafe. Hearing Annie's translation, Emo smiled. You guys can go back first and tell the world what happened to you in the tunnel. I want to see what organization abducted you. I'm trying to get revenge for you. Getting revenge was a lie, but Emo suspected that they might be Northern Sand. At the very least, they weren't from the Black Sun Empire as they didn't have the badge. Okay, I will wait for you with Annie, Kaya said, while there was a clear hint of disappointment in her eyes. Accompanied by her royal look, it was quite seductive. Remember to explain everything. That will be a big help to me. Emo waved his hands at them. Luo Fei looked at Kaya in disdain and sneered. Little witch, she dares randomly seduce people with her looks. Emo laughed at Luo Fei and said to Yu Miaodong, Sister Yu, this Kaya is questionable. The info Sister Yuehua gave us might have simply been superficial, but this woman is strange. I suspect she's a mutant too, but I have no evidence. Send them away after they explain things. We're not afraid of them, but we don't have time to deal with them. Hearing this, Luo Fei's face got better, as though feeling happy that Emo wasn't seduced by Kaya. Yu Miaodong nodded. I know. I will make them announce that as quickly as possible. You're not going back with us. Emo took out a camera and gave it to Yu Miaodong. Here are the identity documents of the 5 people. Send that out together with the explanation these two make. I believe that after that, Luo, you should be in the clear. And tell Yixing that there's a nuclear submarine under Bai Strait, yet our radars didn't detect it. What? Emo's words shook both Yu Miaodong and Luo Fei. She thought about what could have happened if when she was negotiating with the Indonesian officer that nuclear submarine were to suddenly attack their fleet. No matter what happened to them, if the Indonesian representative died on Luo Yu's fleet, then Luo Yu would be facing the Union Army a second time for sure. Emo knew what Yu Miaodong was thinking, so he smiled and said, It's not as bad as you think. I think they can only avoid our radar but wouldn't dare attack. Don't underestimate Yixing. You aren't going to investigate that submarine by any chance, are you? Yu Miaodong realized. How could Emo do that alone? However, Emo nodded. If I'm right, the technology they used to avoid our radar must be from Yixing as well. Just ask Yixing to think of a solution, and don't worry about me. I won't do anything stupid. Emo had just said this when he heard a loud rumble underground. He immediately knew what had happened. He hadn't expected these people to be this decisive. He was sure that the 2 men after them hadn't reached the nuclear submarine, but they had already blown up the tunnel. Emo didn't need to check, the 2 men were dead. Sister Yu, you and Luo Fei go back immediately. Let me stay here and deal with this. No matter what, we can't continue this war. Luo Yu needs time to develop, Emo said decisively. Yu Miaodong trusted him, so she only had to do as she was told and do her part. Also, give a message to Luo Ying and Xianxia for me. Tell them not to worry about me. No matter how long I'm away, I will be back safely, Emo added. Although these people had blown up the tunnel, it was impossible to stay hidden from his spirit sense. He didn't know where he would be following them to nor how long it would take, so he had to make sure that Luoying and Xianxia didn't worry about him. Luo Fei sighed. Her little martial sister would have it harder from now on. One Ning Xianxia was already enough, but now there was a Luoying. After seeing at the helicopter leave, Yemo quickly left and found a hidden place to jump into the sea. He was sure that someone was watching him, but his spirit sense was limited. Could only reach 1,200 meters, so he couldn't find where the people were watching him from. But that wasn't important anymore. His priority was to follow the submarine. Yemo was also very fast in the sea. He went from the Bai Strait to where he last saw the nuclear submarine very quickly. But there was nothing there. The submarine had already left. It was very fast. Yemo rejoiced that he had left a spirit sense mark on the retractable tunnel. If he hadn't, he would have lost the submarine. It seemed that the tunnel was important for them, otherwise they wouldn't have taken it away. Although the waves from the spirit sense mark were unclear that moment, Yemo could still feel it. He immediately started chasing in that direction. Before the events from the previous war could cool down, Luo Yu's declaration of war to Indonesia was a hot topic again. The reason for the war was the most absurd of the modern era. No other country would start a war over that. When Luo Yu declared war, many speculated that Indonesia would be no match for Luo Yu due to its strong records. The only real discussion topic was how long Luo Yu would need to beat the Indonesian Navy. Many thought it would take a week because Luo Yu needed some time to get to Indonesia. However, others also thought that it was only a threat and they wouldn't actually fight. But those contentions were rendered meaningless when Luo Yu started the war 10 minutes later. While many war analysts were still writing about how Luo Yu wasn't going to actually fight, the war was over. Luo Yu had only taken a few hours to annihilate the Indonesian Navy. After Luo Yu took over Bali and threatened to invade Java, its military status had been established. Although it was far from the US or Russia's, there were no countries near Luo Yu that could threaten it. More and more people wanted to move to Luo Yu now. Who didn't want to go to a country that was tough on the outside but humane on the inside? But just at this time, the internet exploded with the news of 5 tourists having disappeared where the Luo Yu's army had been camping. Moreover, 2 of them were part of the British royal family. This caused a huge uproar. Although many people realized that it might be someone else framing Luo Yu, they still had to give an explanation. If Luo Yu couldn't, it would cause war. It would involve the US and India too. Then, many people started to give up on the thought of moving to Luo Yu. These 3 countries were the military powerhouses of the world. If they attacked Luo Yu together, the country would lose for sure no matter what. Although modern warfare was mainly electronic warfare, it also was based on economic warfare. Luo Yu depended on import, hence it wouldn't last long if a real war broke out. Many people started to worry for Luo Yu. They wondered how they would face this dilemma. But then everything changed. Rod's wife and daughter appeared on Luo Yu's official TV channel and revealed what happened. They had gone to Bali for the holidays, and it had only been 3 days when war started. After this, Luo Yu started to send all the tourists back. Just when they were planning to board a plane to Singapore, they met the Bafu couple from America and the Indian tourist, Saigon. They told them that they were holding all the tourists hostage and taking them to Luo Yu. So they followed Bafu and ran away. Bafu said that he had a way to avoid Luo Yu's army and enter Bali's inland. But instead, they brought them to Luo Yu's base in order to cause a war between England and the US against Luo Yu. They requested them to join their organization, but Mrs. Rod rejected it. Then Luo Yu's people saved them and took them to their fleet. They are now very safe. After explaining, Mrs. Rod said, "Although I don't know why they are doing this, their intentions are very clear. They want Luo Yu to go to war. Even though I don't know what organization the Bafu couple came from, I know they're from the US. I would like to ask our British citizens to stay cool-headed and not be deceived by them. Of course, I know a lot of people doubt my words, but there's a recording too. I believe everyone will believe me after viewing it." Then they played Yi Mo's recording. It was the Bafu couple, the 2 black men and the Indian man threatening them. After it was played, the truth was crystal clear. Once again, the world was shocked at Luo Yu's means. Xianxia breathed at ease in front of the TV. She had prepared everything. Yet she hadn't been able to go to Luo Yu due to the lockdown. But now everything was solved and she couldn't wait to go to Luo Yu. Emo was feeling colder and colder in the water. The submarine seemed to be heading towards Antarctica. Even Emo couldn't take it after being in the water for so long, and the water just kept getting colder and colder. Just when Emo wanted to go to the surface to take a breath, he felt an extreme sense of impending danger. He jumped out of the sea without hesitation, and a missile exploded at the spot he had been before. Emo's face was very bad. He didn't expect to be caught already, yet he was still stupidly following this submarine and getting frozen in the sea. Emo knew that it was pointless to follow the submarine anymore. The only option was to destroy it before it sent any news of him out. Thinking like that, Emo shot out his flying sword without hesitation, and it turned into a white ray of death. Emo wouldn't allow any news of him to be sent out whatsoever. The submarine that just floated up a little was sliced open, and the immense water pressure immediately killed everyone inside. Emo cursed. He had been following the sub for so long and failed at the last minute. Emo came to the surface and shot a few fireballs around himself to wash away and evaporate the seawater. Looking around, he was already near Antarctica. Emo went onto the ground nearby and searched around with his spirit sense. He was sure that the submarine had only discovered him at the end. Couldn't have found out about him immediately, so the submarine must have been heading to somewhere near there. But what entered Emo's vision was all just snowy white. Emo didn't find any place suitable for living. As sea water splashed on some rocks, they revealed the only colors that weren't white. A few penguins were slowly walking on the rocks, and Emo stopped looking. Other than those animals, he really couldn't think how a normal person would be able to live there. Perhaps the submarine just wanted to stop there for a bit? Emo shook his head and went onto the snow. The snow was very deep but sturdy. Emo simply left 2 footprints behind, but he didn't sink in. Emo walked a few steps and stopped. His gaze was set on a print next to his foot. It was very faint, and if he didn't happen to walk right there, he wouldn't have noticed it. It was clearly a footprint, so someone had passed by there before. Emo looked around carefully, but there was only that footprint and nothing else. But if someone had been there, they couldn't have just left behind one footprint, and indeed, for meters away, Emo saw another footprint. It was obviously the same person's. Someone who could travel 4 meters with 1 step. Emo immediately became careful. This person was definitely an ancient martial artist if he was able to travel that far with every step. Emo squatted and pressed on the footprint. Seemed a bit hard. Emo soon realized that he was missing something. Although there were only 4 meters between the 2 footprints, they faced different directions. As Emo kept looking, he found that this person actually crossed at least 6 or 7 meters with every step. This guy was a master. This person had come to the sea and gone back. What did he do at the seashore? When Emo followed the footprints some more for a few kilometers, he finally understood. The footsteps going to the seashore seemed lighter, while the footsteps away from the seashore seemed heavier. This person must have been carrying a lot of things when he left, which meant that he had come to the seashore to hunt for food. This was someone who permanently lived there. Someone who could live in Antarctica permanently was no ordinary person. Emo followed the footprint for more than 10 kilometers, at which point the tracks completely disappeared. Even Emo had to commend this person for running that far to get food. Emo looked carefully around the area where the footprints disappeared but didn't find anything. He was a little disappointed. He was sure that someone was living there, because there wouldn't be such footprints otherwise. However, other than some glaciers, the most eye-catching thing around was a tall mountain in the distance. Emo estimated it to be over 4,000 meters above sea level. Emo came to the foot of the mountain. He believed that if that person really lived somewhere in the area, it would be there because that would be the place he would choose to. When Emo found more footprints near the foot of the mountain, he became excited. The footprints in between missing might be caused by the wind. Although there was just 1 footprint there, Emo still looked around carefully. What bewildered him was that the temperature at the foot of the mountain seemed to be even colder. A few hours later, Emo stood shocked in front of an extremely hidden valley and murmured, "Hidden formation. This was definitely something from the Cultivation realm. How could it appear on Earth in Antarctica? Were there really cultivators there? Emo suddenly thought of that Lu Yingying he met at Hefeng. Her grandpa had gotten a spirit-gathering formation disc to grow the blue flower blue leaf grass. Theoretically, that wasn't something ancient martial artists should be capable of making. This was the second time Emo found something related to Dao cultivation. But this formation was of a much higher level than that spirit-gathering formation disc. This formation didn't require spirit stones and could self-sustain on the scarce spirit chi in the environment. Even he couldn't make such a thing at the moment. Emo was amazed and didn't know how to deal with it. Although he could just go in, what if there was an ancient monster living inside? That would be suicide. But he would be unsatisfied if he didn't go in. He had finally found some cultivation ruins. Perhaps he could find what he needed there. The best approach would be to wait until he got stronger and then come back. But Emo knew that if he didn't have another magical encounter or some spirit herbs, he wouldn't be able to reach a higher level. Cultivation was to seek freedom, and an opportunity was right in front of him, but he was actually afraid. Emo thought, if I don't even dare chase after such an opportunity like this one, then even if there will be more opportunities in the future, I will never be able to get stronger. Moreover, since this person still left footprints behind, it meant that he wasn't a supreme master. Would a true master leave any footprints at all? No, he wouldn't even leave half a footprint. Thinking in that manner, Emo didn't hesitate anymore and stepped into the hidden formation. After walking a few steps, Emo disappeared from the valley entirely.